Question, Councilman Vieira. I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Afternoon, Councilman Hertek. I can hear you, and your camera seems to be turned off.
Okay, let's try this. How do I turn it on?
There should be a little button. Are you using a laptop?
Yeah, I'm using the same laptop I used. Click to turn off your webcam, click to share your webcam, and I'm clicking.
There we go. Now I can see you.
Okay, awesome. I'll mute myself.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good evening. All audio and video checks are good for webinar. I'm now going in the background.
Fighting words. Them are fighting words. I slept for 2 hours of the day I was sick. So not bad. Not bad. I know, right? Yeah, the other office room is the lights are bad there and you can't see anything. So yeah, I mean I'm in his room here. That's I know, right? That's a Gene Simmons poster, and then that's Dawn of the Dead, and then that's Vertigo. Don't ask. Oh, it's not. Trust me. It's a wreck. It's a wreck. Oh.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Meeting to order at this time. If I could have roll call for the members present.
Carlson? Here. Hurtak?
Nope. Keep going.
Clendenin?
Here.
Henderson? Vera? Miranda?
Here.
Maniscalco?
Here. And Mr. Shelby, regarding the
Well, I
virtual.
just need an announcement by the clerk that we have a physical quorum, please.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. Council members, what I'd ask at this time, I understand if you want to go, we'll do this first, to make a finding that both Councilwoman Hurtak and Councilman Vieira can participate remotely pursuant to council's rules. If that could be by motion and vote.
I make a motion that Councilwoman Hurtak and Councilman Vieira be allowed to participate virtually for this meeting.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And now if you can take a voice vote from them as well, to include them.
All right. Councilmember Hurtak, yay?
Here.
Councilmember Vieira?
Nay. Just kidding. Yay.
And Mr. Chairman, members of council, per council rules, remote participation by a council member using CMT shall be noted in the minutes. The member attending or members attending virtually must both be seen and heard to be considered present and be able to see and hear the other meeting attendees. If a member is attending virtually, all motions shall be made by roll call vote. We have two members participating virtually tonight. We have one member who is absent. We have the minimum number of people permitted to create a quorum under our charter. Physically present, we have 4 members. If any one of you should leave the dais, the meeting will have to stop. Okay. So I don't know whether you want to arrange, Mr. Chair, if there's a need for breaks, but otherwise, a physical quorum has to be present in order for us to be able to conduct official business. Thank you, sir.
All right. So having said that, yes, Councilman Miranda.
Based on what the councilor just said, that I was notified at the House that there is a hearing that, here tonight, I think it's number 6, but I'm not sure what it was, on, it's number 5. I'm notified that there's a property that I manage under the trust and that got notified about this hearing, so I have to recuse myself.
Would that require, or would that trigger an automatic continuance because we wouldn't have the physical 4 people up here, Mr. Shelby?
Yes.
All right,
There would
so-
have to be 4 people physically present to conduct.
Well, wouldn't he still be physically present, just have to recuse himself?
He cannot participate.
He can't participate, but he's
Well,
still
and the thing
physically
is,
present.
he cannot vote.
But we still have 2 people voting virtually.
Yeah.
He-
That's why I said it,
he
clear it
can
up
sit
now.
quietly and just not take part in any discussion, that's all.
Who is the person who represents number 5 here tonight, this evening?
Come on up, sir, please state your name.
Steve Michelini, I represent the petitioner on that project.
Good evening, Mr. Michelini. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. I understand from what I hear, we're only going to have 3 members physically able to vote, and we have 2 members who are going to be participating virtually. Do you have any objection?
Hold
to-
on one second. You have any objection? No?
Because you have,
We have
if
3
you,
present, 2 virtual, 1 abstaining,
and 1 absent.
1
Right.
absent. Who's absent? Gwen Henderson.
Would you like to have this person come up rather than,
Just a second, you want to come up and speak?
just to be able to speak on the record, you're having a sidebar, I can't.
May I ask a question?
Can we wait a
Yes, sir,
second?
go ahead.
Just for the petition, just for my own knowledge, where is 2322 West Grace? Is it between Armenia and Howard?
This is on Armenia. This is the corner of Armenia and Howard.
Yeah, because
I'm
the
sorry.
property I'm talking to is just
Armenia
one.
and Gray, I'm sorry.
This
This
is
is,
one house in, one behind the law firm on Grace and Armenia.
no, this is directly south of the JCC.
What?
South of the JCC on
I
Armenia.
got notified, that's all I can tell you.
You did receive notice?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you received the notice, that's legally sufficient to say that it's best that you abstain. Did you
Let
want
me-
to, let us continue with the calendar, if that's
Yeah, we'll
okay
come
with the
back to you.
docket.
All
And you
right,
can make
I'll
that
come right
decision
back.
when the time comes.
All right,
Got it made. Thank you, sir.
anything else?
Okay, now just another reminder for the council members who are on virtually, for the purposes of a quasi-judicial hearing, you have to be on camera in order to be considered present. So just so you know that. Thank you.
Okay, so for the clerk's sake, I have the memos here. Please be advised I will not be in attendance in the city council evening session on September 12, 2024. I kindly request the city clerk to read this into the record. This is from Councilmember Henderson, and we have memos from Councilmember Hurtak and Councilmember Vieira that they will be attending virtually. We also settled that, but, so this is on the record. There you go. All right, let's go through the agenda. Ms. Dock.
Good evening, Chairman, Council, LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. On this evening's agenda, I'd like to clear item number 2. There is a request for a continuance to October 10th, 2024. This is VAC 24-09.
Motion to continue VAC 2409 to October 10th, 2024.
We have motion from Councilmember, yes? 2. Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda to continue item number 2 to October 10th, 2024, 5:01 PM, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, 33602. All in favor? Aye. Aye, any opposed? All right, what's,
You have to roll call?
All votes with members participating virtually now have to be a roll call vote.
okay, let's do a roll call vote on that continuance.
Hurtak, Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
I never knew my vote was so powerful. Yes.
Carlson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to continue carried with Henderson being absent. The continued date will be October 10th, 2024.
All right, and item number 10 is next?
Yes, the next item to clear is
Did you
item
announce? I'm sorry,
10.
Mr.
There is a
Chairman.
request to continue this item.
Wait, yes?
For refresh my recollection, forgive me, did you announce the address?
Yes,
You did.
Yeah, he
When
did.
you
Yeah,
announced-
he
You
did.
announced it.
I did it.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure one of,
I announced it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Item number
Okay,
10.
item number 10, there is a request to continue this item to October 10th, 2024. This is file number REZ 24-52.
Motion to continue file REZ 2452 to October 10th, 2024 at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, 5:01 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Motion carried to October 10th, 2024 at 10 a.m. No, 5:01 p.m.
And
Correction.
he read the address, so. All right. Last is item number 11 to remove from the agenda.
Yes, sir. Item number 11, the request is to remove this item from the agenda. It is a misnotice. This is REZ 24-26.
Second.
We have a motion to remove this item, item number 11, RZ 2426, by Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson. Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes?
Motion to remove has been approved with Henderson being absent.
All right, may I have a, yes, ma'am?
And yes, council, if I may take a second just to introduce our newest team member.
Great.
I want to introduce to you, council, Stephanie Pope. Stephanie Pope is our new urban planner 2. She will process rezonings and special use 2 applications. She has experience in the fields of environmental research and biotechnology research. She has worked at the Florida Department of Health and the Water Department of Environmental Health. But she comes to us from her most recent position at the City of Plant City, where her job included site plan review and project coordination for the engineering department. So I wanted to take a second and just introduce you to her, and you'll see her start presenting cases on the next hearing. So with that, council, thank you for allowing me. to
Welcome
introduce her.
aboard. May I have a motion to open all the public
So
hearings?
moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Do I need to do roll call vote for everything, Mr. Shelby?
Everything.
Yes. Okay, roll call vote. And
I have a
Councilmember-
question first.
Wait, Councilmember Hurtak, yes, ma'am.
Don't we need to solve number 5 first?
We're gonna open the public hearings and then I'll revisit it.
Okay.
All right, roll
Okay.
call to open the public hearings? No, we already did, but roll call vote. It was a motion from Councilmember Miranda Clendenin.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson. Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes. All right,
Motion to open carried with Henderson being absent.
yes, sir, Mr. Shelby.
If you could take number 1, the non-quasi judicial, before I am able to finally
Figure
handle
out
number
five?
Number 5.
Okay, we're gonna start with number 1, then we'll figure out number 5. So, item number 1, yes, sir.
Good evening, Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting TACPA 2402. It's a map amendment for parcels generally located within a portion of the block east of North Florida Avenue, south of East Columbus Drive, and north of East Amelia Avenue.
Can we see it? Can you put it on the screen so we can see it?
Yeah, so he has it on the overhead?
Yeah, it just wasn't visible. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
The request is privately initiated, it's small scale in size, and the subject site's approximately 1.97 acres. The request is to change the future land use of the site from community commercial 35 and residential 35 to urban mixed use 60 and community mixed use 35. The subject site is located in the Central Tampa Planning District. It's within the Tampa Heights Urban Village and the Tampa Heights neighborhood. It's also within the Tampa Heights local and national historic districts. Because it's within the local district, it went to the ARC for a review back in July. Here is an aerial map of the subject site. As you can see, the subject site's located at the southeast corner of North Florida Avenue and East Columbus Drive. North Morgan Street is just to the east of the subject site, and then Amelia Avenue is just to the south of the subject site. The surrounding area, predominantly along Florida Avenue and East Columbus Drive, is predominantly non-residential and commercial in nature. As you get off the corridors, it transitions into residential neighborhoods. Just for reference here, this is Lee Elementary School.
Tampa Heights Elementary.
Tampa Heights Elementary.
That's right.
This is looking at the subject site facing north. This is looking at the subject site. This is looking at the subject site along North Florida Avenue facing north. This is looking at the subject site facing east along East Amelia Avenue. Here is the adopted future land use map for the parcels located along North Florida Avenue and East Columbus Drive. The land use is Community Commercial 35. For the interior parcels that are located off the corridors, just north of Amelia Avenue, the land use is Residential 35. The CC 35 is predominantly found along North Florida Avenue and just to the north of the subject site along Columbus Drive. Just to the south of the subject site, we have Residential 35, which is a medium density residential land use category. Here is the proposed future land use map. So the applicant is requesting to change the parcels along North Florida Avenue and East Columbus Drive to the urban mixed use 60 future land use designations. The parcels just north of Amelia Avenue interior would be changed to the community mixed use 35 designation. So this would significantly increase the allowable FAR on the subject site, as well as the density that can be considered along Columbus and North Florida Avenue. And it would also allow commercial general uses on the parcels just north of Amelia Avenue. So currently, under the adopted future land use categories, the subject site can be considered for 68 dwelling units, or just under 132,000 square feet of non-residential uses. As proposed, the subject site could be considered for up to 101 dwelling units, or 243,500 square feet of non-residential or residential uses. So overall, the request will result in a higher residential density and greater commercial square footage on the subject site. This went to the Planning Commission on May 13th, and the Planning Commission found it consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan. Specifically, they found it consistent with policies that talk about development of mixed-use areas, as well as some of the housing policies. This would increase the number of units that could be considered on the subject site. It was also found consistent with the compact city form strategy and promoting densities in proximity to transit. And finally, they found it consistent with infill policies 1.117 and 1.1.18, which directs the greatest share of growth to the city's urban villages. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommended that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? No? Applicant, come on up and please state your name.
Good evening, Council. My name is Tyler Hudson. My address is 400 North Ashley Drive. Joined here this evening by my colleague Alex Shaler, along with Nick Herring and Hannah Arduini from the Framework Group. So Alex is going to run through our presentation. I just wanted to give a little bit of orientation about this project. So the items that you graciously continued earlier this evening are related to this project. Those are going to October. We were going to move this to October too, so all sort of 3 applications travel together. But there's only two tickets for the October council show, and so what we decided to do is just present the comprehensive plan amendment and seek your vote on that this evening. I know sometimes council prefers that the comp plan be separate from the zoning, so just want to make that note that this isn't a speculative densification. There is a pending PD zoning application. and it's going to go in October instead. But we think this comp plan amendment stands on its own and has a lot of support behind it. So we're going to present that and seek your approval of that tonight. So with that, Alex is going to run through our presentation. Nick's going to speak shortly, and then we're all available to answer your questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. Danny did a great job setting up where these parcels are located. I would just note that both Florida Avenue and Columbus Drive are arterial roadways, so this is situated at the corner of two arterials. So the request that we have before you, as Danny mentioned, I think you can split it up into two different categories. The land along Amelia Avenue, which is currently R35, the land proposed to be CMU 35, and then as well as the land located along the two arterials, kind of that L shape, that is currently CC 35. We're proposing the next rung in the densification ladder up to UMU 60. This is a comparison for R35 versus CMU 35. As you can see, density doesn't change, but you do get that FAR bump in the CMU 35 category, as well as the ability to bonus. And then CC 35 versus UMU 60, an increase in FAR, and also from a characteristics perspective, CC 35 is more medium intensity density. As we move to that UMU 60 category, we're looking at higher intensity. And the comp plan denotes areas within UMU 60 as these, quote, community centers or activity centers. And this is interesting because the Tampa Heights neighborhood felt the same way just about 20 years ago. This was a neighborhood plan they adopted back in 2002. Our subject property, you can see where that white arrow is within this red bubble. It's designated as a town center or an activity center according to their plan, which we thought was noteworthy because the neighborhood themselves forecasted the density here, long before we did. In addition to being arterial roadways, both Columbus and Florida are also transit emphasis corridors. The comp plan has significant language about these types of corridors, that those are suitable for both redevelopment and intensification as well. This is wholly located within the Tampa Heights Urban Village, and I thought this was a good slide as well. So this might look a bit familiar. We brought a similar case before you back in 2022. This is the Gold Ring site over here at the intersection of Columbus and Tampa. Same exact request we had there, the land along the two arterial roadways. We amended from that CC 35, the red category, up to the UMU 60. So what we're proposing at this intersection, which is still within that bubble of what was an activity center, same exact request on this site, UMU 60 along the arterials, with that CMU 35 tucked more on the local streets. And these are some highlights from the staff report. As Danny mentioned, the staff did find this application consistent. We did take this to the ARC as well back in July. They unanimously voted to recommend approval on this case too. And then the Planning Commission Board also unanimously recommended consistency. So I will finish speaking with that, and I'm going to bring up Nick Herring from Framework Group to say a few words about the project.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Come on up and please state your name.
Good evening, Council. Nick Herring, Executive Vice President with the Framework Group, 1211 Northwest Shore Boulevard, Tampa 33607. And I'm joined tonight by Hannah Arduini, our Development Associate. We at Framework, we are a Tampa company. I personally am a Tampa native, and we are thrilled to be developing in our own backyard in the exciting Tampa Heights neighborhood. Tonight is not the night to get into specifics of our plan, with only the comp plan amendment being on the agenda, but it's a good one. Our plan is a good one. It's the product of many constructive conversations with neighborhood advocates who largely support additional density on this important corner, Florida and Columbus. So I'm here tonight to answer your questions, and thank you for your consideration. I look forward to talking with you in more detail at our October hearings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir?
No, I'm just looking around, see, that building's been there about 90 years, across from the bicycle shop, across the street from A Unique Furniture. It used to be an upholstery shop, and behind it there's an auto repair shop, I think it is. And the reason is that we used to walk from all the way down Jefferson High School, and that corner has been always some type of vinyl shop or selling materials and stuff of that nature. So that building's got to be about 90 years old, I would think. But I understand what you're saying.
Was the original entrance on Florida Avenue for that big
I think
corner
it was,
building?
yes.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else? If not, I'll take it to the public.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on item number 1?
Second.
We have motion to close. There's nobody registered to speak. Do we have any registered speakers online at all? Okay. Motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. May I get a roll call vote?
Carlson? Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
I just want to make a comment before I vote. This is an exciting area of the city of Tampa. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have planned for this particular parcel, because it's a critical area for our transit future. And so thank you for coming before council to increase the density in this important area. Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2020.
Vote. This was the vote to close.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. So this is just a vote to close the public hearing. Councilmember Miranda is going to read the ordinance. Yes, ma'am. It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 1, TC CPA 24/02. This ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 2301, 2303, 2307, and 2315 North Florida Avenue, 204 and 206 East Amelia Avenue, and 205, 207, and 209 East Columbus Drive, from commercial 35, CC 35, and residential 35, quote, R35 to urban mixed use 60, UMU 60, and community mixed use 35C, MU 35, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second? Second. Second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. located at Old City Hall at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about item number 5. Are we going to be hearing it tonight?
Mr. Michelini, can your client also come up, please?
Yes, Chairman, the applicant has indicated they would wish to move forward with item number 5, and I'll let him state it on the record.
Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner, and this is Stephen Gold. He's the I'm sorry? Okay. These are the owners of the property, and we have great confidence that after following the staff report where we find it was found consistent, that we will go forward with the hearing with the 2 virtual city council members participating.
And 1 abstaining.
And 1 abstaining. Yes. You want to confirm that?
And if I can, if you could just state your name. Well, let me just explain, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, just to explain that you will only have 3 council members physically voting and participating. You will have 4 members present. Councilmember Miranda will not be participating, and he cannot leave in order to maintain the legal requirement for a physical quorum. We have 2 members who are appearing virtually and 1 member who is absent. So with that being said, with 3 members physically participating and 1 member remaining to make the quorum, is it your position that you would waive any potential defect that might be with regard to a quorum necessary in order to go forward? And if you could state your name for the record. If you have any questions of me, please feel free to ask.
My name's Stephen Gold, part owner, and no, I'm okay to proceed.
Thank you. And with you is?
Hello, how are you? I'm also okay with it. My name is Andrew. Last name is Restrepo.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Then that being said, number 5, we'll move forward with the understanding that Mr. Miranda has graciously agreed when the time comes for number 5, he will announce that he's abstaining and the reason for his abstaining, and then he would be remaining present to have a physical quorum while the hearing is heard. through its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll get to number 5 when we get to number
Thank
5.
you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we are in the quasi-judicial proceedings of the agenda, so if you are here to speak on any item on this agenda, please stand, raise your right hand, and we will swear you in. If anybody plans to speak.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. May be seated.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman and Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. Item 3 is REZ 2418. It's for the property at 2109 West Spruce Street. This is a request to rezone the property from RS50 Residential Single Family to RM18 Residential Multifamily. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give my report.
Good evening, Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. Our first case in the Central Tampa Planning District, specifically, it's within the West Tampa Urban Village. This is the subject site here. It's just to the west of North Albany Avenue and West Spruce Street. The surrounding area is predominantly residential in character. There are some grocery stores located along this portion of North Albany Avenue, directly, just to the east of the intersection is a place of religious assembly. Here is the adopted future land use map. As you can see, the subject site, it is recognized under the residential 35 future land use designation. That is a medium density residential future land use category that allows development up to 35 dwelling units per acre. To the south of the subject site, we have parcels recognized under the residential 20 that are 35 is to the northeast and west, and then one block to the west of the subject site, we have parcels recognized under the CC 35 category. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found it consistent with overall policy guidance in the comprehensive plan. The proposed RM18 zoning district can be considered in the R35 category per the consistency matrix provided in the LDC. Staff finds that the RM18 zoning district would provide for comparable and compatible development in the surrounding area, which contains both single-family detached and two-family attached residences. Additionally, the request supports infill development on a currently underutilized site, which is encouraged by the plan. The comprehensive plan promotes a development pattern consistent with the Compact City Forum strategy, encouraging infill development near transit and employment services. The subject site is approximately 450 feet west of North Howard Avenue, which is a designated transit emphasis corridor. The request supports LU policy 9.6.2, which promotes increasing availability of housing at densities that promote walking near transit use and employment employment areas. Finally, the comprehensive plan directs the greatest share of growth to the urban villages. This request would provide additional housing in the West Tampa urban village. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Any questions? I see none. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. This rezoning request, REZ 2418. The property contains a total area of 6,382 square feet. The lot has a frontage of 67 feet and a depth of 94 feet. A maximum building height allowed with this request is 35 feet. The development pattern surrounding the subject site is comprised of lots that are smaller lots than allowed in the current RS50 zoning district, and I'll show you on the aerial map. It contains single-family detached uses, commercial uses are west of North Howard. Also, the parcel is directly east, the parcel that's directly east of the subject site, it contains a width of 28 feet, and the parcel directly west has a width of 33 feet. The site is in the West Tampa overlay, and it is also a part of the business core for the business core district for West Tampa. The future land use, as mentioned by Danny, is R35. Given the size of the site, a maximum of 2 dwelling units are allowed on the site. This site is surrounded with parcels that have a PD zoning, and these parcels are a part of the in-town development project, which was approved in 2005 and 2007 in phases 1 and 2 respectively. Those projects allowed for development of residential homes on parcels that were smaller in size than the standard required in that zoning district. So this is a zoning map of the site. You can see the site here in red. This is Spruce Street. And then this is Albany Avenue, and this is Howard Avenue. And this is Main Street and 275 to the south, just to orient you. So you can see that this site is surrounded with those PD parcels. Within the staff report, what's located as surrounded these PDs are that same 2007 approval from that infill development project. All of these PDs that are surrounding the site within the 2-block radius are a part of that. But you'll see as you head further west to Howard Avenue, you get more of the mixed development or the higher intensity with the commercial uses. As you head further east, you have your RS50 zoning. And then as you get east of Fremont, you have a couple of PDs, and then you don't get your more intensive zonings till you get further south to Main Street. This is a survey of the site. So this is the property. It's on Spruce Street. You can see this blue outline is the property boundary. So it has that 67 feet of frontage with that 95 feet of depth. And then I have photos of the site. So this is a picture of the subject site. So this is if you're looking north at the site. This is also the site. So this structure is on one side of the site, and then it's vacant on the other side of the site. This is across the street, so this is south of the site. This is west of the site. And that's the view. You can see the homes that are located there. This is if you're looking west on Spruce. And then this is if you're looking east on Spruce, you go the other direction. The property is to the left outside of this picture. And then this is at the south, this is southwest of the site. This is at the corner of Albany and Spruce. DRC staff has reviewed the request, finds the request consistent. This is a Euclidean request, so there is no site plan associated with this request. This concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Anybody online with questions? Councilman Vieira Hurtak? Nope. All right.
Okay, thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Come on up, applicant. Please state your name.
Good evening, Francisco Otero Casio, 14301 North Del Mabry Highway. I'm just going to read over the highlights of the proposal. We're requesting to rezone the property from single-family RS50 to residential multifamily RM18. The Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed the application and found the request consistent with the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances. The Planning Commission staff has also found the proposed rezoning request consistent with the provisions of the Tampa Comprehensive Code. The site is a short distance from commercial uses located west of the site and within the business core district of West Tampa. This area anticipates an increase in density over what is currently developed based on the underlying R35 future land use designation. Important to note of this petition, if approved, we understand the zoning must adhere to the Tampa Comprehensive Plan for maximum density, floor area ratio, limits, and permissible uses in the RM18 zoning district, and we will comply with the West Tampa overlay standards. Specifically, that the RM18 zoning district allows for a maximum density of 1 dwelling unit per 2,400 square feet. So a maximum of 2 dwelling units can be considered on the subject site with other land development regulations are met. The Planning Commission staff again reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The request supports infill development and is currently underutilized site, which is encouraged by the comprehensive plan, land use policies 2.1.2 and 9.2.1. The Planning Commission staff finds that the RM18 zoning district will provide for a comparable and compatible development with the surrounding area. Another important note, since we are proposing a Euclidean zoning district, we shall address land use policy 9.2.6 and all applicable plan policies at time of permitting. Land use policy 9.2.6 encourages single-family attached multifamily developments to be designated to include the orientation of the front door to a neighborhood sidewalk and street, which we will adhere to that when it comes time for permitting. In conclusion, the rezoning is compatible with the surrounding development pattern and is consistent with the long-range development pattern and encouraged under the residential R35 future land use designation. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the gentleman? Anybody on, Councilmember Vieira Hurtak, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
No? Okay. All right, thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 3?
Motion to close.
I see no one. We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote to close.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clendenin, would you mind reading item number 3?
Yes. An ordinance being presented for first reading and consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2109 West Spruce Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning districts classifications RS50 residential single family to RM18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date. I find that I concur with the staff analysis on the Planning Commission that this is consistent with a compact city form of strategy and encourages infill development, and is compatible to increase density for a sustainable neighborhood.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin with a second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Councilmember Clendenin?
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the Euclidean zoning request and what you said about the overlay district. No, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Dock, number 4.
Thank you, Council LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item number 4 is REZ 2420. It's for the property at 2511 North Howard Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RO Residential Office to PD Plan Development to allow for all CN and commercial neighborhood uses. I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Danny Collins, with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. Our next case is in the Central Tampa Planning District. Specifically, it's in the West Tampa Urban Village. Subject site is within Evacuation Zone E. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. You can see the subject site's just south of the intersection of North Howard Avenue and West St. Conrad Street. Surrounding development patterns predominantly residential. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site's recognized under the Community Mixed Use 35 future land use designation. That category encourages a mixed use development pattern up to 35 dwelling units per acre or up to a 2.0 FAR. To the south of the subject site, we have some parcels recognized under the CC 35 along North Howard Avenue, and then a couple blocks south, we have parcels recognized under the recreation open space category. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found it consistent with overall policy direction of the comprehensive plan. Commercial neighborhood uses such as proposed through this rezoning can be considered in the CMU 35 future land use designation. Per the LDC, the PD proposes a 0.26 FAR, which is well below the intensity anticipated that can be considered on this site through the CMU category, which is consistent with LU policy 8.15.1. Staff finds the request adequately addresses the mixed-use center and corridor policies. The building is oriented with its main entrance facing a 6-foot sidewalk along North Howard Avenue, and parking is located at the rear. The design enhances the pedestrian experience by prioritizing sidewalk accessibility, meeting both the mixed-use center and corridor and urban villages policies. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Nope. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And this rezoning request would allow for all CN uses on site. There's one structure which exists on the site. This structure contains 1,800 square feet. The lot itself contains 6,760 square feet with a lot width and frontage of 65 feet and a lot depth of 104 feet. The setbacks are to the north 35 feet, the south 1 feet, east 32 feet, and the west 6 feet. The property itself, let me show a site plan. So the site has a current zoning of RO, so I would like to mention a correction on the staff report. RO, as we know it today in the zoning code, is a Euclidean zoning district. If you apply today for an RO zoning, you would not be required to submit a site plan. At this time of adoption in 2012, the RO was a site plan controlled district. So it was controlled by a site plan. So within the body of the staff report, there are 2 references to PD. It should have been a site plan controlled. Because it's similar to the PD, but it is its own designation of the RO. So the site has the RO zoning that was approved in 2012. That approval was for business professional office. What is before you today is a request to allow this PD with all CN uses on site. This site is in the West Tampa overlay. It is also a part of the West Tampa Business Core, and you'll see within the staff report there are no parking spaces required because it is in that Business Core district, and there are 4 spaces provided on site. So this is the site plan that's submitted. So on the site plan, this is Howard Avenue. This is Conrad. I just did a zoom in on the plan just for clarity. This is the property boundary, and so vehicles would enter the site from the west, and then they would exit the site on the alley, which is located south of the site. So this is the building itself, and then building entry is located here. And I have pictures of the site, but first I'd like to show the zoning atlas, just so you can see the area. So this is the subject site, this identified here in red. This is Howard Avenue, this is Albany Avenue, this is Beach Street, and then this is West St. Conrad Street. And so you can see the subject site has this RO zoning, but surrounding the site on the north, the northwest, and northeast are RS50 zonings with those uses consistent with the zoning. On Howard Avenue, you have commercial uses here, and you have commercial intensive uses as you head further south. And then also the same is on Albany. You have more commercial neighborhood uses that are located further west of the site. And then for the pictures, so this is the subject site. And that's if you're looking straight ahead at the site. This is a view of the site. This shows where the parking would be located. This is the south boundary of the site, so this shows you the access from the alley. This is located south of the site. It's car wash. This is southwest of the site. This is at the corner at Beach and Howard. This is located west of the site, across the street, and then this is located north of the site. This is at St. Conrad and Howard at the southeast corner. There is one waiver requested from the applicant, and that's listed on page 1 of the staff report. That is a use-to-use buffer waiver. There's a request to reduce it to 2 feet on the north and 1 feet on the east, and to provide a 6-foot PVC fence in place of a 6-foot masonry wall. Given that this site exists, staff supported the waiver request. They're utilizing this site, and the existing home would not be demolished, or the existing building. So with that, staff found the request consistent. There are changes to be made between first and second reading. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Councilmember Condon.
So the building exists, they're not gonna change the footprint of the building?
Correct, they're not changing.
So why are we here? For what are they looking for that isn't already an existing condition?
So there are uses allowed in the CN that are not allowed in RO. So this is the existing site, and that
So it's just the
site will
usage
remain.
of the existing building that's under discussion. Okay, there you go. That's all.
Correct,
That's-
for the usage, the
that's-
footprint
okay.
itself will remain.
Got it.
And there are certain uses in CN that are not allowed in RO, in the
Okay.
current RO.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? All right. Applicants, petitioner, please state your name.
Steve Michelini, I'm here representing the petitioner. This is an existing structure, as the staff has pointed out, and we are saving it. It's a 1925 bungalow that was converted to a residential office back in 2008. And this simply changes the allowable uses. Everything else remains the same. There were previous waivers that were granted under the other rezonings, but we have to reinstate them as well. We're found consistent by the city staff as well as the planning commission. We've received no calls of objections or concerns. This is a very passive professional office use currently. And when the owners went to try to get some permits to do some renovation, they discovered that they essentially were not allowed under the current zoning classification. With a land use classification of 35 DUs per acre under the CMU, it could be a much more intensive use if they tore it down, but they want to preserve it. The request for the waivers on the setbacks are for existing conditions, so this is not an expansion of the use or the building or the parking areas. It simply vests the ability to enter and exit the property. It does utilize the alley for exiting, and we will have to improve a portion of that, which is consistent with the West Tampa overlay conditions. It's basically, we have to comply. The building already complies with the West Tampa overlay. We simply have to have the uses in order for them to continue their professional office. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I would like to state that the Planning Commission has their recommendations that are all found to be consistent. I have to go through these criteria to promote the efficient and sustainable use of the land and infrastructure. We're doing that by maintaining the existing building. Encourage flexible land development. We're not changing this building except for the uses that were involved in promoting encourage development. Promote architectural features. We're maintaining the existing bungalow, including all of the exterior features which are consistent with the development in the area. Promote the retention and reuse of existing buildings. We're doing that. The design and development of the building is the same and is consistent throughout the district. The waiver, if allowed, would not substantially interfere or injure the rights of others. They exist already. We're simply asking to vest them. The waiver is in harmony and serves the general intent and purpose of this chapter. And it does. The staff has found that it does, and the Planning Commission as well. Allowing the waiver will result in substantial justice being done. It allows the building to remain and it to be used efficiently as it's laid out. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Carlson.
Could you tell us, sorry if you mentioned this, but could you tell us what categories are included in the new designation versus the old one? Like what?
Well, basically, it's gone from a residential office that required the residents to be on the premises to allow it to act solely as a standalone professional office. Now, beyond that, the CN uses are generally things like a neighborhood serving, smaller scale, less intensive uses. It's on your staff report. I can go through that list, or LaShawn can probably might be better to summarize them. But they're very low intensive types of activities.
Thank you, LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. There are a few uses that are allowed in CN and not in RO, like retail sales, for example. personal services, a restaurant. Those uses are allowed in CN, but they're not allowed in RO. RO is primarily for a residential office or that type of use.
Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
And it was brought to my attention that Councilmember Hurtak is having some connectivity issues, but she'll be long and gone as she figures that out, so. Thank you very much.
To my knowledge, we've received no objections, either by phone or letter, and we did have a consistency finding by the staff and the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on item number 4?
Motion to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote. This is just to close the hearing. Yeah. Yeah, we got it. I announced it.
Carlson. Hurtak. Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson. Vieira.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak.
I'm gonna have to abstain. I'm gonna have to abstain from this because my power went out. I will review the video for
second reading.
Okay.
Mr. Shelby, is that all right? It was.
Well, frankly, just I count her as absent because she was, rather than abstain, because she was not present during the hearing, and the fact that the motion to close, she was counted as absent. Is that correct?
Yes. She was absent at motion to close.
So just, if you can, rather than abstain, Councilwoman, we're going to mark you as absent from this vote.
That's fine.
Thank
That's
you.
fine. And I will just simply look at the tape. I apologize. You know, it's the internet. What can you do?
No problem. All right, so she'll be marked as absent, and so will Henderson, just
Yes.
for clarity for the record.
Okay.
All right, so can you read the vote?
Yes, absolutely. Motion to close carried. Motion to close carried with Hurtak and Henderson being absent.
Perfect. All right, Councilmember Carlson, would you mind reading item number 4?
Yes, I'd like to move item number 4, file number REZ 24-20, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2511 North Howard Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RO residential office to PD plan development, all commercial neighborhood uses providing effective date. And just to reiterate the evidence that was presented, that it was found consistent by the Planning Commission and the staff. Planning Commission talked about it being pedestrian-centered and meeting many of their criteria, that it's less intensive than it could have been otherwise. And also we're vesting the waivers that were in place before, and I think one new waiver. And then I just want to say thank you for saving a 1925 bungalow too.
And include the revision.
And including the revision sheet.
All right, Councilmember Hurtak, you had your hand up, or are you good? And you're muted.
No, I just wanted to mention the waivers, but you're already there.
You had a delay in your voice. That was okay. So
She's not here.
we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. Who was the second? Councilmember Miranda. A roll call vote. Remember to list Hurtak and Henderson as absent.
Okay. Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson. Hurtak. Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson. Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak being absent at vote, Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. Now for item number 5, because we need to have a physical quorum, Councilmember Miranda will be in the room. Please do not engage him. He cannot partake in anything, but he is abstaining and will file the correct paperwork.
Well, if you can, just announce the fact that he's doing that, and he stated previously why. If you could just very briefly stating that why you're abstaining.
I said that earlier.
I know that, but
You're within the notice area.
I received a notice, and the trust that I manage received a notice that there's a zoning within 250 feet of that property, and Therefore, I'm recusing myself.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Doc. Number 5.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. Item 5 is REZ 2458. It's for the property at 405 North Armenia Avenue and 2322 West Gray Street. The request is to rezone the property from RM16 and PD Plan Development to PD Plan Development for residential single-family attached use. And I'll turn it over to Danny to complete his report, and I'll come back and give my report.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. Our next case in the Central Tampa Planning District, specifically within the West Tampa Urban Village. The subject site's within Evacuation Zone E. The site is located at the southeast corner of West Gray Street and North Armenia Avenue. The JCC is just to the north of the site. The surrounding area is predominantly residential in character. West Pines Park is approximately 2 blocks north of the subject site. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site's recognized under the residential 20 future land use designation, which allows residential development up to 20 dwelling units per acre. Directly to the north of the subject site and along Howard Avenue, we have parcels recognized under the CMU 35 future land use category. The R20 is to the east, south, and west of the site, and then the ROS is 1 block to the north along Armenia Avenue. Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found it consistent with the overall policy direction of the comprehensive plan. The proposed use, single-family attached uses, can be considered in the R20 category per the LDC. The rezoning will provide compatible infill development in an area planned for 20 dwelling units per acre. The request would also provide for comparable and compatible development with the surrounding area. Additionally, the request will provide opportunities for housing at slightly higher densities than in the surrounding area, which is supported by the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan encourages attached single-family uses to be designed with front doors oriented towards a neighborhood sidewalk and street. The primary entrances to the proposed units are oriented towards West Gray Street, which is consistent with this policy direction. Additionally, the PD provides vehicular access from the adjacent alley to the south of the subject site, which is also consistent with the plan. The request supports many of the policies in the comprehensive plan as it relates to housing the city's population. The plan promotes a development pattern consistent with the compact city form strategy, which encourages infill development within proximity to transit, employment services, and on vacant land. Additionally, the comprehensive plan directs the greatest share of growth to the urban villages. The request will provide additional housing in the West Tampa urban village, which is supported by this, which supports this policy direction. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the Tampa comprehensive plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? I see none. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. And this rezoning request would allow for 4 residential units on site. The maximum building height proposed is 35 feet. The setbacks are proposed to the north at 16 feet, to the south 27 feet, to the east 13 feet, and to the west 5 feet. The property itself contains 10,082 square feet. The frontage is 95 feet, and the depth is 106 feet. On the site itself, the applicant proposes to construct 1 structure, and this is the site plan associated with the request. So this is the property boundary that's located here. This is the site, this is Armenia Avenue, and then this is Gray Street. So you can see that there are 4 units proposed. These units have vehicular access from the alley. Each unit has a 2-car enclosed garage. This is the front door for each unit, and a walkway has provided to provide pedestrian connectivity to the sidewalks that surround the site. So this site was actually designed just sensitive to the existing grand tree on site. This is why this setback to the west is at 5 feet. Is to allow the protective radius on this property, and I'll let Erin come up afterward to give her presentation on the natural resources comments relating to this request. So the site is also in the West Tampa overlay. At the time of permitting, must comply with West Tampa overlay standards. The site has an R20 future land use, as Danny has just mentioned. Given the size of the subject site, a maximum of 4 units are allowed to be developed on the site. There are elevations that were submitted also. So this is the north elevation, this is the south elevation, and this is the east, and then the west. And then I have the zoning map to show. So this area has a mixture of zoning designations. There have been rezonings which have occurred. You can see the PDs throughout the area within a 2-block radius, but this is the subject site that's here in red. This is Armenia Avenue, this is Gray Street, this is JCC, this is this PD, which was approved around 2016. So half of this site is existing PD, and the other half is the vacant, which is the RM16 designation. Along Armenia, you have a couple of PDs. This is a PD from '03, this is an office use. You have commercial and residential uses, and I'll show you pictures of those adjacent uses. To the south, this is an older PD, which was approved for commercial use, and then the same with this PD that's located here south, a block south on Fig Street. As you head further east and you're along Howard Avenue, you have more of your commercial zoning and commercial uses consistent with that zoning. And then I have pictures of the subject site and the surrounding area. So this is the site that's located here. This is on Armenia, so this is actually the west end of the site. This is the north end of the site. This is another view of the north end of the site. This is on Gray Street if you're looking south. This is the north end of the site, so this is that other piece, that residential, current residential zone. This is east of the subject site. This is another view east, heading further east. And this is, we'll swing back around and go south of the subject site. This is across the street from that site. This is south. This is directly west of the site at the corner of Gray and Armenia. This is northwest of the site, the business professional office use. This is a view if you're looking north on Armenia. The site is behind us in this picture, and this is a view of the JCC. Had to get a landscape view to get the whole building in. And with that, there is one waiver requested. With this application, there's a request to remove 2 non-hazardous grand live oak trees. That waiver is listed on page 1 of the staff report. Erin Mayer is here. I'm going to turn it over to her to give her report on the natural resources findings, but staff found the request consistent, and there are site plan modifications to be made between first and second reading. And I'm available for questions once Erin has completed her report.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Please state your name.
Erin Mayer, Development Coordination. I'm just going to speak to the natural resources findings on this application. So you can see here in front of you, these are the 2 grand trees they are requesting waivers for. These trees are rated non-hazardous grand trees. They're both rated C8. You've seen the site plan. I just want to point out, so this is the location for the first one right here in Unit 2 in the building footprint. This is the other grand non-hazardous tree. This is tree number 5, the 33-inch, worth 11 mitigation trees. Tree 1, 36 inches diameter, rated C8 and worth 8 mitigation trees. And then down here along the alley in the southeastern corner, the applicant is preserving this grand tree. They've shifted their building towards the west to provide minimal, very minimal pruning to the canopy of the tree, and then they're going to be putting their driveway and the alley using on-grade materials. So with that, I just want to speak to a couple of the other things the applicant has agreed to do. They have provided 800 square feet per unit of green space, which the code requires 350 square feet. So they're giving more than double what's required. So with all the space that they have provided in green space, the site requires 4 mitigation type 1 trees and 2 palms, and it also requires 4 required trees for the site. And the applicant has agreed to upsize the trees to 4-inch caliper from the required 2.5 inches, so they can provide all the required trees and the mitigation trees on site and fulfill their requirements. So based on these reasons, they also submitted reasonable reconfiguration as well. And yeah, based on the reasons I just stated, we found we were consistent with conditions, and we did support the waiver.
Any questions? Right, yes, ma'am. Anything else to add?
Yes, Council LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. I just wanted to explain what was handed out was the reasonable reconfiguration. We would normally include that with the staff report, and I apologize that was not included, so we handed that out today for the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right, applicant, Mr. Michelini, please state your name.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioners. You may recall this site was the location of I guess it was a semi-antique kind of a junk store, and the debris and trash was over 20 feet high when they went in to buy this property and try to restore it. We were working with the staff very closely regarding the placement of the units, including the reasonable reconfiguration to try to do what we could to save the trees. We did, we are enabling to save 1 grand tree on the south corner of the property, and to use the grade beams as well as the pervious concrete in order to make sure that those trees, or that 1 tree survives. As Aaron pointed out, we are more than doubling the amount of green space, so we have plenty of room. And the concept is to create a very attractive landscape corridor that will be facing on the on the north side, which is Gray Street, which will interface with the JCC. So you have a fence and a wall on the JCC side, and then you'll have a line of trees on Gray Street. The alley access is for the cars, so you won't have cars pulling in from driveways on the front. Both of those issues are consistent with the West Tampa overlay. As the Planning Commission staff pointed out, this is a residential 20 designation, and it's compatible with all of the surrounding development. And you have a number of different things going on. You have commercial, you have residential, you have multifamily, and you have offices. So in this particular location, it's a great transitional use that goes between Armenia and the north side, which is JCC. This is on a transit corridor, so taking that traffic off of Gray Street and putting it onto the alley is ideal and exactly what you would like to see happen. It is consistent and compatible with the West Tampa overlay, and the design guidelines will have to be met through this rezoning. The use of the property with respect to the conditions for PD zoning, and we've really had very few alternatives to correct the existing PD and the RM16 that was already there, except to go back to a PD. And we were adjusting the site so that we could save the grand tree in the back and slide the buildings to the west, which enables us to save the tree and also provide better access. So anyway, to promote the efficient and sustainable land use and infrastructure, we're doing that. We're enabling us to tap into the existing infrastructure, and we're taking out the existing buildings that are there and trying to make them a more efficient and productive part of this community. It does provide additional housing, as is reported in the Planning Commission staff report. It does promote the encourage development where appropriate location, character, and capabilities surrounding an impact neighborhood. It's across the street from multifamily. It is just north of other office uses and instead of residential uses. This is a corner which will become a very attractive tree-lined street. Promote the architectural features and elements. We have to comply with the West Tampa overlay, which will make it an attractive development. Promote the retention and reuse of existing housing stock. Existing stock will be demolished. However, it'll be replaced with a much more attractive replacement component. The design and the proposed development will be consistent with the West Tampa overlay. The waivers granted will not substantially interfere with the rights of others. The waiver is in harmony and consistent with the general intent and purpose of this chapter, and allowing the waiver will result in substantial justice being done. We tried to see if there were other alternative methods of compatible, in terms of trying to save the trees. We didn't have them. I have 2 letters of support, one of them from William Kelly, who lives at 2320 West Gray Street, and one from Maurice Lauren Gernard at 2411 Carmen Street. And basically said they're expressing their strong support for the rezoning petition submitted by their neighbor. They live next door, and I believe the rezoning request will be a positive development in our area, contribute to the overall improvement of our street, and the proposed development aligns with our community desires for family homes, which will enhance the residential character of our neighborhood, and it's a great transition between the JCC and the rest of our community. I firmly believe it's encouraging high-quality residential development, improve the aesthetics and appeal of the street, and attract more families to our neighborhood. So you're inserting a number of residential uses which are found to be compatible by those neighbors. As first-time homeowners, my wife and I are excited about the potential positive impact of this development could have on our area, and represents progress, growth, while we're maintaining a family-friendly atmosphere. We're submitting a letter because they're out of town, or otherwise they'd be at the hearing. Wanted to ensure my support of this rezoning application on the record. Thank you for your consideration. And I'll submit these into the record.
Thank you very much.
Both the letters are similar, so I want to read both of them.
And Councilmember Clendenin,
Was he done?
does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Clendenin.
I appreciate all the information that you've done, and obviously it looks like a lot of work has been put into this. I also appreciate the green space, the fact that the attempt of reconfiguration to save the trees. I get your points. The only question I have, which is considering the magnitude of the reconfiguration and of this, is where are you going to put the garbage? I mean, because
the garbage pickup has to occur along the alley, so we have to make provisions for that. They can't go in the front.
Okay, and so where would you put, I guess, in that green space that you got there?
It has to go adjacent to the driveways for the access to the rear garages.
Right. Okay.
And it has to be screened.
And you said fencing. Where were you saying fencing at? Did you say fencing somewhere?
That's on the east side.
Okay, that's that. Okay, I just want to make sure there's not any fencing facing JCC.
No.
You're integrating with JCC, yeah.
That's the facing of the house.
Okay.
And the integration of additional on-site mitigation trees to create that tree.
Oh, that's when you say fencing, because of the trees, yeah. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Create the canopy, a more attractive canopy.
Okay, that's all. That was my only question, is where the trash. Other than that, it seems like it's well planned out, and I appreciate it is a coordinated.
This is a difficult site, and we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how best to orient it. I think we came up with a good plan, and working with staff, and we really appreciate the staff spending the time working with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to? Oh, Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. Did you all know that Gray Street is a bicycle boulevard?
Yes.
Yes, that's why we're orienting the houses that way, and also providing the trees for shade and landscaping.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to, you didn't mention the bicycle boulevard, but I just wanted to commend you for adding large caliper trees there, which will provide shade for cyclists, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. It's desperately needed.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Nope. All right. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 5?
Motion to close.
We have a motion. Councilmember Clendenin with the motion to close. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. Let's get a roll call vote for the motion to close.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda, abstain, Carlson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent, Miranda abstain.
Councilmember Hurtak, are you comfortable reading item number 5?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
It's right in front of me. I move file number REZ 24-58, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 405 North Armenia Avenue and 2322 West Gray Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily and PD plan development to PD plan development residential single family attached, providing an effective date, including the waivers and the revisions between first and second reading. I find that the applicant has done their due diligence to provide options for moving the site to keep the trees, but since they couldn't keep the trees by any of the modifications, they are instead of that, they're adding larger caliper trees that will and additional green space to compensate.
We have a motion, and from Councilmember Hurtak, the second was from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote for the motion of reading of the ordinance.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda, Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent, Miranda abstained. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Yes, Mr. Shelley.
And that Councilwoman Hurtak would include the revision sheet, is that correct?
I said the modifications, but I will amend
okay.
that to include revision
The
sheets.
modification, okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Item number 6.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock Development Coordination. Item 6 is REZ 2460. It's for the property at 2409 West Fig Street. The request is to rezone the property from RM16 residential multifamily to RM18 residential multifamily. I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give my report.
Danny Collins, again with your Planning Commission staff, I was sworn in. Our next case is just across North Armenia Avenue to the west in the Central Tampa Planning District, specifically within the West Tampa Urban Village. Subject site is situated here about mid-block along West Fig Street between North Tampania Avenue and North Armenia Avenue. Again, this is the JCC. Surrounding area is predominantly residential in character. Here is the adopted future land use map. Subject site, including the parcels to the north, south, east, and west, are recognized under the residential 20 future land use category. That category allows residential development up to 20 dwelling units per acre. Again, we have parcels in the vicinity recognized under the CME 35 designation, as well as the ROS a couple blocks north of the subject site. Planning Commission staff reviewed the application, found it consistent with the overall policy direction of the comprehensive plan. The proposed RM18 zoning district can be considered in the R20 designation per the LDC. The rezoning will provide compatible infill development in an area planned for 20 dwelling units per acre. Staff finds that the RM18 zoning district would provide for comparable and compatible development within surrounding area, which contains a mix of housing types. Additionally, the request supports policies that promote infill development on vacant and underutilized lands, which is consistent with the plan. The request supports many of the housing policies in the plan. The plan promotes a development pattern consistent with the compact city form strategy, which encourages infill development within proximity to transit and employment services. Additionally, the comprehensive plan directs the greatest share of growth to the city's urban villages. Again, the site's within the West Tampa urban village, and it would provide additional housing in West Tampa. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. Without further questions.
Any questions for Mr. Collins? Nope. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Dock.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. This rezoning has a parcel which contains a total lot area of 5,305 square feet. I'd like to put up the survey. This is a Euclidean zoning request, so there is no site plan associated with this request. The lot frontage is 55 feet and there's a depth of 96 feet. The maximum allowable building height with the requested zoning district is 35 feet. So the request would allow for residential multifamily uses on site. The development pattern is comprised of multifamily, single-family attached, semi-detached, and detached uses along with commercial uses in the area. Directly west of the subject site is a single-family, semi-detached development that was approved in 2017, and that was under REZ 1780, and directly north, south, and east of the site is residential, single-family detached, and attached uses, and I'll show you those shortly on the aerial. The site has an R20 future land use, as Danny has mentioned, so given the size of this lot, a maximum number of dwelling units allowed on this lot is 2 units. The site is in the West Tampa overlay and must comply with the overlay standards at the time of permitting. And so this is the survey of the site. This is Fig Street. And you can see this is the property boundary on the property, and you can see that this frontage is at 54 feet, or 54.9. This is the zoning map of the property. So this looks familiar. We just had a rezoning here. So the item before this. So this is the subject site in red. This is Fig Street. This is Tampania. This is Armenia. This is Howard. So you can see that the subject site has surrounding it, you have to the north a rezoning. This is to the west and to the southwest. These are all RM18 rezonings which have occurred recently within this area. Further south is an RM18 zoning. As you head further west of Tampania, you have more of your RM16 zoning. On Armenia, you have the PD and the commercial uses along there, and then as you get further east along Howard, you have more of your commercial uses in the area. And I have pictures of the site. So the site is currently vacant. This is the site on Fig, and this is if you're looking north at the site. This is west of the site, so this is one of those PD rezone, the RM18 rezonings, I'm sorry. That's to the west, and further west, this is the same. In RM18, a single family, semi-attached. Then I wanted to show just the north portion of the site because there is an alley that is north of the site. So the subject site is here adjacent to these residential structures. This is southwest of the site. So this is on Fig, and this is at the southwest corner of Fig and Tampania. This is south of the subject site. This is if you're on Fig and you're looking south. And then this is east of the site. The DRC staff has reviewed the request and finds the request consistent. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Okay.
I see none.
All right.
Applicant?
Thank you, Council.
I heard a little. Yes, sir, please state your name.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. This is a Euclidean zoning. It was found consistent by the city and the Planning Commission. It is sandwiched in between other multifamily RM16 and RM18 properties. LaShawn showed you the pictures that there's duplexes all throughout the area. Obviously, we have to meet the zoning requirements for height, setbacks, et cetera, and there could only be 2 units. So it is consistent with what's immediately adjacent to it, which is on both sides. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward request. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Got the whole family.
Being
coming.
upstage.
That's okay. I can handle it. Anyway, 35 feet in height. This is basically a 5,000 square foot lot, and it is consistent with everything that's surrounding it. And it was found consistent by both staffs. So we respectfully request your approval.
Any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 6?
Motion to close.
Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. A roll call vote on the motion to close, please.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak, Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Now may I have Councilmember Vieira, would you be comfortable reading item number 6?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If you can hear me.
Yes.
I read an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2409 West Fig Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to RM residential multifamily, RM18, I'm sorry, residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Clendenin. A roll call vote, please.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Did she say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is item number 7. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. Item 7 is REZ 2464. It's for the property at 709 West Park Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RS60 Residential Single Family to RS50 Residential Single Family. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Collins, with your Planning Commission staff, I was sworn in. Our next case is in the Central Tampa Planning District. Specifically, it's in the Ridgewood Park neighborhood. This is the subject site here. It's about mid-block of West Park Avenue, just to the west of North Boulevard, which is here. Surrounding development patterns predominantly residential in character. There are some new townhome developments along North Boulevard Avenue. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site, including the parcels to the north, south, east, and west, are recognized under the residential 10 future land use category. That category allows residential development up to 10 dwellings per acre. 2 blocks to the east, we have 2 parcels that are recognized under the residential 20. On the east side of Boulevard, we have parcels recognized under the residential 35 category. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the application, found it consistent with overall policy direction of the comprehensive plan. The proposed RS50 zoning district can be considered in the R10 future land use designation. This rezoning will provide compatible infill development in an area plan for 10 dwellings per acre. As such, the staff finds that the RS50 zoning district would provide for comparable and compatible development within the surrounding area. Given the existing single-family character of the surrounding area and the proposed density that would be allowed under the RS50, Planning Commission staff concludes that the request will maintain the neighborhood's character and align well with the residential character along North Glenwood Avenue or North Park Avenue. Additionally, the request supports policies that promote infill development on vacant underutilized lands consistent with the plan. The rezoning will allow for enhanced utilization of the land consistent with the density anticipated under the R10 designation. The comprehensive plan recognizes the importance of single-family neighborhoods, seeking to promote compatible redevelopment of neighborhoods to ensure economic health, and that an adequate amount of land is planned for the city's growing population. If the rezoning is approved, the subject site has the potential to provide additional housing on an underutilized parcel within the Central Tampa Planning District and within the Ridgewood Park neighborhood. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? I see none. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Dock.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. The area under the request contains 14,835 square feet. This lot has a frontage of 117 feet with a lot depth of 130 feet. The maximum building height allowed within this requested zoning district is 35 feet. So the property is currently zoned RS60, and given the frontage, it just doesn't have enough frontage to meet the RS60 standards. And so the request is before you for the RS50. On page 1 of the report, I have detailed that the prior applications on this property, there was a request for a formal decision made. The applicant requested to split this lot into 2 lots, but those lots would be facing Park Avenue. So just to show you on the zoning map, this is the subject site, which is outlined in red. This is Glenwood Drive, this is Park Avenue, and then this is North Boulevard. So this is the Heights development that's located here south of Ross. So the request was originally to orient those lots and split them with the lot line running north-south, and they would have fronted Park. That request was denied, so the applicant is before you this evening with this request to rezone to the RS50, and the lots would orient to the west. And Glenwood would be the frontage on those lots. So the subject site is a part of the Ridgewood Park subdivision, a part of Block C, lots 13 and 14. That subdivision was originally platted in 1922 with 13 blocks. The frontages ranged anywhere from 45 feet to 58 feet. The southwest corner of West Park Avenue and North Glenwood Drive contains parcels which are Zone PD, which was approved in 21. Those parcels were approved for 2 single-family detached units. Also, there have been recent rezonings within the area approved for semi-detached, single-family detached uses. Also, there is a recent rezoning approval that was located east of the site. This is the PD that was approved for the single-family uses. And then you can see we have PD zonings that are further up North Boulevard. And this is a mixed-use development, and then this is one that's in now for a mixed-use development on the corner. Aside from that, surrounding the site, you see that existing RS60 zoning, and then you have the pockets of the RS50 that are throughout the area. There is a conforming map with an analysis done of the area. This is that map. So on the map, just to orient you, this is the subject site outlined in black in this hatched area. So this is Glenwood Drive. This is Park Avenue. This is Ross Avenue south, and then this is North Boulevard on the east. So the subject site would have the 2 lots, and they would orient to Glenwood Drive. So I'm going to read the conforming analysis that is provided on page 3 and 4 of the staff report. So the area of analysis included 161 parcels. 55 parcels, or 34%, have been developed with a width of 60 feet or greater, and 106 parcels, or 66%, have been developed with a width of 59.99 feet or less. The blocks on the east and west side of North Glenwood Drive, between West Park Avenue and West Francis Avenue, is comprised of blocks C and F. The subject block on the east side of North Glenwood Drive, block C, contains 3 parcels. Excluding the subject site, all fronting North Glenwood Drive, with 3 or 100% of those parcels having lot widths of 55 feet to 59.99 feet. Block F on the west side of North Glenwood Drive contains 5 parcels that front North Glenwood Drive, with 5 or 100% of those lot widths at a range of 55 feet to 59.99 feet. The south side of the subject block, between North Glenwood Drive and North Boulevard, contains 3 parcels which are oriented towards Park Avenue. 100% of those lots are at a width of 54.99 feet. 2 or 67% with lot widths at 50 to 54.99 feet, and 1 or 33% with a lot width of 45 to 49.99 feet. The north side of the subject block between North Glenwood and North Boulevard contains 4 parcels fronting West Francis Avenue, with 100% of those lots at a width of 45 feet to 49.99 feet. So staff has identified that 66% of the parcels have been developed with a width of 59.99 feet or less, and 34% of those parcels have been developed with a width of 60 feet or greater in the study area. So staff finds the request to be consistent with the existing development pattern of the overall study area. And I have pictures of the site. So this is the west end of the site. This is on Glenwood. This is if you're looking east. This is the south end of the site, which is vacant, of course. And then this is this site. This is if you're looking east on Park Avenue. And this is the alley, which is located north. This is at Park Avenue again. This is looking east. So the subject site is off to the left on this picture. And this is if you're at the site and you're looking south, so you can see the residential that exists off to the distance, and this is the subject site that's located here. This is catty corner from the site. This is at the southwest corner of Glenwood and Park. You can see the residential that exists there. This is west of the subject site, so the site is behind us in this picture. And then this is west. This is the view looking north. The site is to the right in this picture. So with that, staff finds the request consistent, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions from council members? I see none. Applicant?
Okay,
please
thank
state
you,
your name.
council.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. The basic principle here is to be able to reorient the site so that it faces Glenwood. And I have a couple of aerials I'd like to show you. The Riverwalk bike path will run right in front of it. And so the petitioner wants to orient the 2 single-family houses toward that one section. Let me find this other. There's a better view of that. There's a better view of that. This is Glenwood here, and our intention is not to face the houses toward Park, to actually orient them toward the park, and to create again that tree canopy to enhance the park and to make it more attractive. The staff, both as Planning Commission and city staff, have found it to be consistent and compatible. As I said, we're basically trying to reorient the project so that it takes advantage of and enhances that bike path going through the neighborhood. The staff also pointed out that 66% of the houses and 100% of the homes face Glenwood, so we are consistent on both of those regards. We are trying to make Glenwood the orientation. The request will allow 2 single-family residences, and it will be an enhancement of the park that it faces. We appreciate the staff's comments. Again, it doesn't meet the frontage requirements under RS 60, which is creating the problem for us. That's why we're requesting they go to RS 50. I think I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding that, but it does provide additional housing. It's on smaller lots, so it does provide additional access. It's not the multifamily, the townhouses that are adjacent to in the south. It is single-family residential.
Any questions? Councilmembers Hurtak, Vieira, any questions? No? Okay. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 7? Item number 7.
Move to close.
We have a motion closed from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call vote to close. I'm sorry. Old habits.
Carlson?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent. Motion to close, yes,
Yes.
with Henderson being absent.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading item number 7?
No, sir. Thank you, Chairman. File number 7, REZ 24-64. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 709 West Park Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, RS60 residential single family to RS60 residential single family, providing an effective date along with the revision C.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda with a second from Councilmember Clendenin. A roll call vote.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Don't go too far because you're not, I think you have one more. Steve McLean. Yep. All right, item number 8.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn, Doc Development Coordination. Item 8 is REZ 2465. It's for the property at 206 Chippewa Avenue. This is a request to rezone the property from RS60 residential single family to RS50 residential single family. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. Our next case is also in the Central Tampa Planning District. Specifically, it's in Davis Islands Urban Village. The site is within Evacuation Zone A, and it's also within the close eye hazard area. Subject site's just north of the intersection of Chippewa Avenue and Biscayne Bay, or Avenue. Subject site's outlined in this purple color. It is surrounded predominantly by residential uses. This is a place of religious assembly here. As you move northeast, there are some non-residential uses just out of the frame here. Planning Commission staff reviewed the application, found it consistent with the overall policy guidance in the comprehensive plan. The proposed RS50 zoning district can be considered in the R10 future land use category per the LDC. This rezoning will provide compatible infill development in an area planned for 10 dwelling units per acre. Staff finds the RS50 zoning district would provide for comparable and compatible development within the surrounding area, given the surrounding uses. This portion of Chippewa Avenue between Barbados and Biscayne Avenue, excluding the subject site, has an existing density of 4.64 dwelling units per acre. The existing density along this segment is approximately 46% of the density that can be considered under the R10 designation. The proposed rezoning will allow consideration of 2 single-family detached zoning lots at a density of 7.08 units per acre, consistent with the density anticipated under the R10 designation. Additionally, the request supports policies that promote infill development on vacant and underutilized lands, consistent with the plan. The rezoning will allow for enhanced utilization of the land, which is consistent with the density. The comprehensive plan recognizes the importance of single-family neighborhoods, seeking to promote compatible development of neighborhoods to ensure economic health, and that an adequate supply of land is planned for the city's growing populations. If the rezoning is approved, the subject site has the potential to provide additional infill housing on an underutilized parcel within the Central Tampa Planning District and within the Davis Islands Urban Village. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Any questions? Nope. Ms. Doc?
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And this is a Euclidean zoning request, so there is no site plan, but a survey was submitted. So I'll put the survey on the Elmo. So this lot contains 11,235 square feet. It has a frontage of 105 feet and a depth of 107 feet. The maximum height allowed in the zoning district requested is 35 feet. The subject site is a part of the Davis Island South Park section, Block 25, lots 9 and 10. This was platted in 1925. The subject block was platted with 17 lots with lot frontages ranging in width from 33 feet to 60 feet. The surrounding uses, which I'll show on the zoning aerial shortly, approximately 200 feet south of the subject site, there's an existing PD plan development that has 20 single-family attached units. Directly south of the PD are parcels which are zoned RS50. 1 block east of the subject site, there are parcels that are zoned residential multifamily. There's a place of religious assembly and school uses also within that proximity. So the site has a future land use of R10, and given the size of the site, a total of 2 dwelling units can be developed. This has a conforming map with it, so this is the conforming map. This is the subject site, which is outlined here in black and in the hatched area. So this is Biscayne, this is Barbados Avenue. This is Davis Avenue, which is Davis Boulevard, which is here to the east. And I will read the analysis into the record, which is contained within page 4 of the staff report. So the area under the analysis includes 119 parcels. 74 or 62% have a width of 60 feet or greater, and 45 or 38% have a width of 59.99 feet or less. Today, the subject block contains 15 parcels, including the subject site, with widths ranging from 45 feet to 100 feet. Excluding the subject site, 7 or 50% of the parcels on the subject block have a width of 60 feet or greater. 7 or 50% are 59.99 feet or less. The southern portion of the subject block facing Biscayne Avenue contains 8 parcels with widths ranging from 45 feet to 74.99 feet. 3 or 38% of the parcels have a width of 60 feet or greater, and 5 or 62% have a width of 59.99 feet or less. The northern portion of the subject block facing Barbados Avenue contains 6 parcels with widths ranging from 50 to 100 feet. 4 or 67% of those parcels have a width of 60 feet or greater, and 2 or 33% have a width of 54.99 feet or less. The subject site is the only parcel which is oriented to Chippewa Avenue on the eastern portion of the subject block. Block 26 is located on the east side of Chippewa Avenue across the subject site, across from the subject site, and it contains 3 parcels which are oriented towards Chippewa, with widths ranging from 70 feet to 99.99 feet. 100% of those parcels have a width of 60 feet or greater. So block 26, the overall, that block overall contains 17 parcels with lot widths ranging from 45 feet to 99.99 feet. 29% of those have a width of 60 feet or greater, and 12 or 71% have a width of 59.99 feet or less. So staff has identified that 62% of the parcels have a width of 60 feet or greater, 38% have a width of 59.99 feet or less in the study area. While there are a variety of lot sizes and uses within the vicinity of the subject site, staff finds the proposed request inconsistent with the existing development pattern of the overall study area. And with that, I'll show the aerial, the zoning map, and the aerial of the property. So this is the subject site, which is in red. This is Biscayne Avenue. This is Davis Boulevard. That's located here, so you can see the surrounding uses surrounding the property to the north, south, west, and east are that RS60 zoning. As you move further west, you get into your RS75 zoning districts, and further east as you head towards Davis Boulevard. Davis, of course, you have your commercial uses, but you actually reach your residential multifamily and then your commercial uses as you gradually move towards the east. So I have pictures of the subject site and the immediate area. So this is the subject site. This is if you're looking west at the site. So this is the site, this is if you are looking, this is the site in the picture, and this is looking south on Chippewa. That's another view of the site. That's if you're looking north, turning the opposite way. This is on Chippewa looking north. So the site in this picture is off to the left. This is another view of this site that's located northwest on Barbados. This is across the street, so this is east of the subject site. Another home east of the site. This is at Biscayne. These are the townhomes, the single-family attached mentioned within the staff report. This is the PD. And this is across from the townhomes that I just showed you. This is looking northeast on Biscayne. And then this is the subject site. This is directly south of the site. This home fronts Biscayne, and it's at the corner. And with that, staff finds the request inconsistent, and I'm available if there are any questions.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. Can you please put up what is this called? The existing lot pattern for rezoning, the colorful map?
The conforming map, this map?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes.
So what I just wanted to clarify and ask that what I heard. So what you are saying is that the lot in question is the only one on its block that faces Chippewa.
Correct, yes ma'am, that is correct. So when you look at this.
And then that there are 3 houses across the street that face Chippewa.
Correct. In this block, these lots all face Barbados, and then these lots on the south end of the block face Biscayne. And then across the street, these are the 3 lots that front Chippewa. So this is the block face, like from here.
Okay, and for my understanding, you said that the 3 lots across the street vary in width from 70 to 99 feet each?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Nope. Petitioner, please come up and state your name. And, okay, just making sure. Everybody that's speaking is sworn in. Go ahead, sir.
I think everyone's been sworn in.
Yeah, because another person walked in, just making sure. Go ahead.
Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. This is a request for single-family residential. I think one of the issues that we really need to deal with, and they'll deal with this in a presentation, is that they've eliminated the consideration of the townhouses and the multifamily as affecting the development pattern. They're using single-family, but that's by policy, but we're going to point that out. There are a mix of smaller and larger lots throughout this area, including an apartment building that's category from this. And again, the lot patterns and the design of these lots varies from one side to the other. So there's a whole mix. And they're also going to put in the record a listing of all of the smaller lots that are within the notice area. So I'll turn it over to them for their presentation, and they have a PowerPoint as well.
I think we're going to do the papers. Good evening, Council. Chris Mercer, 599 Riviera Drive. I'm a longtime Davis Island resident, about 20 years. I've lived on Luzon twice, Severn once, and Riviera. I currently own 2 houses on Luzon, 1 on Riviera, and 19 units on Danube. I fully support the diverse housing stock on Davis Island, from small studio apartments to $40 million houses. Part of our interest in this division is to try to keep some new construction under $2 million. It's not affordable housing per se, but for Davis Island in current situation, it's as affordable as it can get. I served on the DECA board in 2018, 2019, and 2020. We've built 17 houses on Davis Island in the last 9 years. and I've only come before you twice asking for a rezoning. So in general, we build to entitlement. Both times I asked, city supported one, city did not support the other. Both times you guys approved them, and we built new houses and families live on Channel. I say all this to say I'm fully involved, invested, and I'm in love with Davis Island. So we try to be a good neighbor. We submitted this rezoning request. There were initially 2 objections from the contiguous neighbors. We met with them. We let them know we had already hired a civil engineer to deal with drainage, and their main concern was privacy via landscaping, and we agreed to provide landscaping. So both of them have removed their objections and support our project. To date, I've not seen any substantial competent evidence to support denying the rezoning in any objection letter. Many of the points in the letters are factually wrong, and a little bit later on in the presentation, we will show you why we think that. I've discussed the project with many residents of Davis Island. We received overwhelming support. Many letters of support were submitted to DECA. Unfortunately, that was after they had voted. I didn't know that they were going to be talking on our project because the last 2 projects of substantially similar size and change, they had no objection to. So we were caught a bit off guard on that. But, you know, we'll never make everybody happy. This is a minimally invasive rezoning request. It's fully supported by Hillsborough County Planning Commission, supported by most of the City of Tampa departments, as well as many Davis Island residents. I believe we have 10 letters of support, and I believe there's 3 people here speaking on our behalf tonight. Again, as I said, I wasn't aware that we were going to be on the Davis Island Civic Association radar, and in light of what they did with the Channel Drive, so I didn't expect opposition, so I didn't bother them. Once I learned of their opposition only a few days before this hearing, I reached out to discuss with them our plans. They noted that with the support letters that they've received, our drainage that we're going to do, and the other items, they might be less opposed to it if they had time to hear us out, but they just didn't have time to vote to support, oppose, or abstain. So if approved today, I'll continue to work with DECA and any residents to address their concerns. I only received their objection letter today at 1:40 p.m. But I would note when you look at that map and you read the Hillsborough County Planning Commission report and the City of Tampa zoning map directly conflict with a lot of the things that DECA's objection letter says. And again, new homes are more energy efficient. If the split's approved, each home will have a significantly reduced carbon footprint versus one large home. The new homes are going to be above the FEMA flood map, and the flood insurance will be about 80% less than what a on-grade home would cost. And final point, and then I'll turn it over to my partner, Jonathan Sands. People will say that, you know, having 2 homes is going to dramatically change the neighborhood. Hillsborough County zoning disagrees. I own 2 houses here in an apartment complex somewhere right around here. I'd be one of the first people, if I thought that this development would reduce values, I wouldn't do it. It would hurt me more than the average person. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I turn it over to Mr. Sands.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yes,
Chris.
sir, please state your name.
Thank you, Council. Jonathan Sands, Board of 6, San Rafael. So I just wanted to bring your attention to this board. I'm dealing with Samuel Thomas. Staff did a great job preparing this, but I just wanted to make sure what Samuel Thomas told me that in this whole area, they couldn't use a lot of the areas. They couldn't use the PDs. They couldn't use the RMs. They only had, so they had to go to a wide 1,000-foot buffers area, and he had to not use a lot of the things. So I just want to bring to your attention, this is a unique area that has many different zonings of many different sizes. As you see, there's multifamily right here. There's some rezones over here. So that wasn't really included in the overall findings. So as you look right here, you'll see on block 25, several of these are actually below the zoning standards. And on block 26, the same exact thing holds true right there. So if I just go to the next page, I want to go to basically the Hillsborough County Planning Commission report. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just read just a couple excerpts of their findings. The Planning Commission staff finds that the request will not alter the character of the surrounding area and is comparable and compatible with this portion of North Chippewa Avenue. Also, furthermore, Planning Commission staff has reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The rezoning will allow for enhanced utilization of the land consistent with the density anticipated under the R10 future land use designation. So there's a couple hits right here. These are just parts of the report itself and just hitting on it. So basically, by approval of the rezoning, the subject site has the potential to provide additional infill housing on underutilized land. Next, I'd like to show you, just take a walk around the area, just so we can kind of take a look-see. So from the subject parcel, you can see already there's multifamily housing right there. That's the same picture right here. And if you're walking around on block 25, which is the block that we're on, you'll note all of these houses fit the RS50. This is something that we're proposing to build, something very similar, a nice 3,000 to 3,500 square foot house. This is what the area is shown to be consistent when you drive around that area. So then I want to get into a little bit closer. This is a 300-foot buffer map. This is what we have to send to the good neighbors, and I got 8 minutes, cool. Send to the good neighbors and everyone around here. You see all these X's. These are all houses that do not meet the RS60 standards. And of note, on 50 houses in the 300-foot buffer zone, 27 or 54% of them do not meet the RS60 standards. And 12 out of the 27 do not even meet the RS50 standards. Now, I highlighted these two areas right here, these two contiguous lots. These were the neighbors that reached out to us. They had some concerns. Their concerns were drainage. When you're in South Tampa and Davis Island, drainage is everybody's concern. So we let them know that we proactively reached out and hired a civil engineer to create a drainage plan that not only exceeds code requirements, but it actually retains water on site. Not only do we hire a professional engineer, a civil engineer, we also worked with city stormwater management as well. So if I could take you a couple seconds, just show you. By entitlement, if we did nothing at all and needed anything, we could build this whole entire house right here. These meet the setbacks, 20-foot rear setback, 25-foot side setback, 25-foot front setback, 7-foot side, and 7-foot side setbacks. So this would take up a lot more area. When you have two houses, you're going to actually have a lot more green space because there is going to be two 7-foot side setbacks right here. So that actually gives more green space. I just wanted to make sure my math was accurate, so I contacted Ignacio Riccio from City of Tampa Stormwater. He confirmed that two houses built to maximum setbacks will take up less pervious area than one large home built to maximum setbacks. I also confirmed that with our civil engineer, just to double check to make sure the math was right. So as you can see, with more green space, that allows for more area for swales, drainage, ADS pipe, more conveyance, and more water retention. And for those that are concerned about green space and filling up too much area, this actually provides, two houses provide more green space than one house does. So here is the drainage plan that we're proposing. I also have the full copies of this stamp that I can provide to anyone that wants. We sent this to all neighbors. I believe we sent it to DECA as well for their review so they understand what we're looking for. So not only are we doing the code minimum of just an ADS pipe, we're creating swales on all sides, drainage pipe with an exfiltration trench system. So just so you know, an exfiltration system is not required on residential construction. That's typically for commercial and multifamily and like that. So I also want to let you know that I contacted Charlie Rodriguez at the City of Stormwater. And he agreed that these plans are above and beyond code requirements. Although he said he was not attending, if anybody reached out to him, he'd be happy to say, yeah, they're good. So that being said, in summary, I just want to make sure we're on the same page here, that the area has several RM, PD, rezones in close proximity. We have yet to see objection letters offering any substantial competent evidence to deny this request. Hillsborough County Planning Commission found it consistent and supports the rezoning, noting it would not create adverse effects for surrounding area, and that is a good use of underutilized space to help in meeting Tampa's long-term housing plan. Of the 50 houses in the 300-foot buffer zone, there are 27 that do not meet the RS60 standards, and 12 of those 27 do not meet RS50. Our proposed designs will match the surrounding houses and area, and it'll be more of a natural fit and will not create adverse impacts. In addition, and more importantly, the proposed design allows for a much better stormwater drainage system that will assist the surrounding neighbors as well as the city stormwater system. I confirmed this with the engineer that not only is it a benefit to the neighbors behind us that may be impacted or was concerned about it, but all of Chippewa because we're retaining more water than a typical one house or two house would have. With that, I appreciate your time and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Clendon.
I have a question for staff reference that.
Ms. Dodd.
So the drainage component that was introduced by the applicant, Because this is a Euclidean zoning, there's nothing, that won't be attached to anything, that's just,
Correct.
it's not relevant to this case, right?
Correct. LaShawn Dock Development Coordination. This is a Euclidean rezoning request. So the applicant is, with the Euclidean request, has to meet code at the time of permitting. Anything that they do above and beyond, we cannot commit to. We can't commit to anything else aside from this Euclidean request. So although they are stating it on the record, we have no way of holding the applicant to this. So just so council is aware and it's on the record.
So with this Euclidean zoning request, I thought one compelling argument from the applicant was that two houses with the increase side-by-side setback, increasing green space, that is a fact. Is that something you would concur with? That if they built one house, they could build by right to the setbacks, and this would actually increase green space?
Correct. If they built one home on the parcel, they could, and if they chose to build to the setbacks, they could end up with one large home and one large footprint.
Right.
Or they could build one home that doesn't meet that footprint and still meet the same landscape requirements, but yes.
So it seems like it was yesterday when you presented this. It was a long time ago. Refresh my memory, staff's objection was the density in relationship to the frontage along Chippewa because of the houses across the way and the.
Correct. Well, correct. So when we look at the conforming map, what we do is we look at the frontages. So we look at all the lot widths within the area. So all the lots highlighted with any color have been included in this analysis. And then we give the lot widths at the top based on the analysis. So this is the subject site. We look at the block. We look at this block face across the street, and that's a part of the analysis. And then we give you the overall analysis.
So the overall, it looks like it's almost a coin flip because it is pretty mixed density.
Well, overall, the numbers came out to where we had more of the larger lots.
Right.
Overall, when you look at this overall area of analysis.
62%.
What was mentioned is that the residential multifamily was not included, but keep in mind, this is RS 75 also.
Right.
This was not included. And these typically are gonna have your larger lot sizes because it has that RS 75 zoning.
Did y'all consider the proximity to the urban village there? Is that anything that y'all consider?
Well, in the analysis, whenever there's a request to have a zoning with the lot width, which is smaller than the current zoning, we look at the conforming map, and that's what we use to make the analysis on.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
As always.
Did Councilmember Hurtak have her hand up?
No, but I would, yeah, I'll reserve my questions and comments
Okay.
for after public comment.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Michelini, you still have time.
One of the things they pointed out was that the drainage plan, and I know that we can't commit to that, but we have committed that to the adjacent property owners, exceeds the city requirements, and it takes care of off-site drainage, which currently is not happening. I want to put this up here. The two lots that are across the street from the subject property here, these are anomalies. Every one of these other X's are properties that are not consistent with the RS 60. And we have a whole list here with the addresses of the ones that don't meet RS 50 or RS 60, and I'll be happy to pass that around. But these are all within that notice area that, so it is a mixed bag. And the staff can't take into consideration the apartments that are across the street, the townhouses that are across the street, and they're looking at other things that we think that should be considered as part of this project. The orientation of these homes will be toward Chippewa. We cannot orient them toward Barbados, or it's simply, well, you can see on here. They have to be oriented toward Chippewa. But those larger lots are not consistent with anything else around there. Those are outliers, essentially. And then over here, you have even smaller lots, a whole line of them on Biscayne. So with a general development pattern, they are consistent. So we'd hopefully request that you consider that, and be happy to answer any questions, and we'll open it up for general discussion. But I understand there's some neighbors who had general concerns earlier on have reversed their concerns and are now supporting the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open it up for public comment. If there's anybody that wishes to speak, please come on up, state your name. Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
Yes, my name is Trista Clements, and I'm a property owner at 208 Como Street on Davis Islands. I received a letter about this, and I was never notified by the petitioner, so we've not had a conversation about this. He stated earlier that he had talked to all the neighbors. I live 1 block away. I'm also speaking on behalf of Mark Ziegler at 206 Como Street, Joe Parada at 212 Como Street, and Bill Benson at 105 Biscayne Avenue. We've all submitted letters of opposition to Samuel Thomas at the City of Tampa. We're all long-term residents in this area. We've owned our current homes for over 30 years. We oppose the lot split application at 206 Chippewa because we feel it's inconsistent with the established character of our neighborhood. The majority of the properties in this area do adhere to RS 60, the zoning criteria, and we want to maintain a cohesive and uniform residential environment. Allowing an exception for this lot split would undermine the zoning regulations in place to preserve the character and the integrity of our neighborhood. And I urge you to consider the impact of this proposal on our community and uphold the existing zoning standards.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, sir, come on up. Please state your name.
Good evening, William Shellhart, 573 Luzon Avenue, Davis Islands, Florida. I've lived on the island for 12 years now. I'm not in favor of overdevelopment. This is proper development. This is consistent with what needs to happen with some of these older homes on Davis Islands. What you have now is an eyesore, and it's in a neighborhood, we recognize that, but it's also right off East Davis Boulevard, which is, as the council members have pointed out, it is the business district. There is multifamily housing. There are townhomes right around the corner. I would ask this council to make an exception to the RS 60. I believe that the last resident who spoke on Como, that is a 52-foot lot in an RS 60 zone. So it's not dramatically modifying the neighborhood. This is taking away an eyesore, putting in, again, recognizing that $2 million is an exceptional amount of money, but for single-family Davis Island homes, that's what it's going for. So this accomplishes that goal and makes it reachable for more younger families in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name.
Good evening, council. My name is Patrick Murphy. I'm here on behalf of the Davis Island Civic Association. As indicated by the city staff report, this is inconsistent with nearby development, and we're asking the city council to deny the request for rezoning. The neighbors that have reached out with concerns to DECA have concerned that this will inevitably lead to additional rezoning requests in the future by creating more of these non-conforming lots. You're essentially tilting that balance towards making those more of the standard than an exception. Based on that and based on the concerns of the neighbors that reached out to us, we've submitted a letter of opposition. We're asking the city council to deny the request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Ryan McGinnis. I'm a Davis Island resident, and I've lived actually next door to 206 Chippewa Avenue. I'm here to show my support for the rezoning request. I'm all too familiar with the drainage issues on that property, which leads to mosquito infestation. I've reviewed the developer's proposed drainage plans that exceed code requirements, and this will help resolve that issue. Additionally, splitting the lots will lead to 2 new single-family homes. This will improve the surrounding home values and increase the tax roll for the city, while keeping the similar size and layout of the surrounding properties. The split would not be out of the ordinary, and in fact, my current lot is actually smaller than the 2 proposed lots. These new homes will also allow more residents to move to Davis Island, alleviating some of the extreme demand. Thank you for your time listening to me.
Thank you very much. Sir, I saw you walk in later in the meeting. Were you sworn in?
Yes. Or no, not sworn in. I signed it.
Okay. When you come up, please raise your right hand. We'll swear you in. And we swear everybody at the beginning of the meeting, so.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may.
Thank you very much, sir. Please state your name.
Steve Gillis, 534 Ladrone Avenue, resident of Davis Islands for 5 years, 50-year resident of the city of Tampa, business owner in Hillsborough County. I just want to show my support for this project. I believe that 2 well-finished houses are going to fit better in this location than one big McMansion. That's it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for public comment? If not, Councilmember Hurtak wanted to speak after public comment. Councilmember Hurtak, do you want to speak now?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm good.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much. Anything else? If not, I'll ask the applicant to rebut. Mr. Shelby, your microphone is on.
Yeah, I just I noticed on base that there are written comments that have been placed into the record, so I'd like those to be received and filed before council.
Can we get a motion to receive and file?
Documents.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote to receive and file those written documents.
Okay. Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to receive those documents is carried with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michelini, do you have rebuttal? If so, please say your name as you come.
Jonathan Sands, 406 San Rafael. I just wanted to, everyone's right to have their own opinion. I wanted to be clear, and I'm sure it's recorded, that when I said we met with the clients that had some objections to it, they reached out to us through a notification, so we had to send a mailing. We had to send 2 mailings. So I just wanted to be clear when she said we didn't reach out to them. We sent a mailing that had that, and we got that. And so I could leave that to Steve. I just wanted to clarify the record there that I wasn't saying anything that isn't true.
Mr. Shelby.
Mr. Michelini, I just want to be clear, just so it's clear for the record, you submitted the documents that you'd shown to City Council as well as an engineering report, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you very
So
much.
I don't have those in my hands anymore, but.
Please say your name.
Steve Michelini. If you look at the list of non-conforming lots, they far exceed what the city was allowed to put on their report. So it's not a clear picture of what's happening in that area. And the people that are spoken, I mean, according to the owners, their lots aren't conforming anyway. So, I mean, we have a mixed bag here, and let me just show you, this is the city's exhibit. All of the stuff that was not included in their analysis. I mean, but that's by their policy, and I understand that. Just wasn't included, and that includes apartments, that includes townhouses, and a variety of other things. So indicating that changing from RS60 to RS50 is going to somehow change the development pattern of the area simply isn't accurate. We have a mix of smaller lots, and as I pointed out, the 2 across the street are an anomaly. Those are the largest lots in the whole area. Those are not consistent, and they wouldn't be considered to be the normal development pattern of the area. They are an anomaly. This is a request that would allow 2 single-family homes. They've already pointed out to you that with the additional setbacks between the homes, they would have more green space and drainage area than you would with a single home. The Planning Commission, through their analysis of an R10, have indicated that that would be an appropriate designation and an appropriate use for going to RS50 in this area. If you wanted to do an area-wide study, you would have to include most of those houses that are to the east because they are all non-conforming. You'd have to include every one of them, and some of them are less than 50 feet wide. So I would say that, that should be something council should consider. One of the other things, and I agree that you can't make this as a condition of the rezoning. However, the commitment has been made to not only improve the drainage for this particular property, but also that will also assist in addressing the drainage issue for the other area. Otherwise, those neighbors wouldn't have come up and said, hey, look, I'm in favor of this, because we had to address their concerns. And as you know, we have to file 2 notices. One is a notice of filing, and that is designed to let people know that there is a petition pending before the city council and is currently being reviewed by the city staff. That is supposed to give people enough notice so that they come in and talk with the proposing applicant to address any concerns that they have. They held a neighborhood meeting, people that responded to it. And the result of that was they changed the drainage plan. And then when you send out a second notice for the hearing, and then no one comes forward until the last night or 24 hours before the hearing, how are we supposed to address that? It just makes it very difficult. And I think that, holding people to being honest about their concerns, that they have an obligation to, when we send these notices out, if they have a concern, to come and address it with us so we can address it. This is a reasonable request. It is consistent with the land use plan. When LaShawn got up and said, their analysis showed, the percentages of development, they were hamstrung by their policy of what they can consider and what they can't. That's why I provided you with a document that showed you how many were less than 50 feet, how many were less than 60 feet, and you have that in the record. I'd like to have that received and filed. I think that, we have demonstrated that we have gone above and beyond the requirements, and we would greatly appreciate your consideration for a favorable vote on this petition. I appreciate your consideration.
Councilman Miranda, you had your microphone on. Did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just listening very carefully, and then there's merit on both sides. However, the drainage thing that they say they're going to do, if there's any way legally to put all these things, because they're not recorded anywhere else. We only hear this, and the problem is that from being here from a few years, is that you say something, and I'm not talking about this petition, I'm talking about other things that happen, and what happens is we give something with swales, let's say, and Mr. Maniscalco bought it, and he lived there for 10 years, him and his wife, and he sells it to me, and my wife says, I don't like it, and I fill up the swales. It's never recorded. So there's a system here that doesn't work. So I'm trying to clear it up somehow by making this an example. And I'm not saying that we have the right to do it, but how do we do those things?
Kate Wells, Legal Department. Since this is a request for a Euclidean zoning district and not a site plan control district, that's not a condition we can attach to the rezoning approval if council is inclined to approve the application.
And let me correct myself. Yes, I agree with this rezoning, but many others are not Euclidean. And that's what happens.
Well, if it's a site plan controlled request, then you have the ability to include conditions of approval.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
There was a motion to close in a second. Does that still stand? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin to close.
He's not finished. If I could just have one moment.
Well, how much time is left in the rebuttal period?
Don't know.
No, I think it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'll need 30 seconds or less. May I speak briefly? Or not?
Motion
to give it 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Council.
We have a motion for 2 minutes and rebuttal, second from Councilmember.
You don't need to. He still has his time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just rescind your motion to close.
Set the clock for 2 minutes. We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Carlson. Roll call vote.
Carlson? Yes. Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried to set the clock for 2 minutes with Henderson being absent.
Go ahead, please say your name.
Thank you, Chris Mercer. I just wanted to say, I've promised the neighbors I would do it. I put it in writing. People have lawyers. If I don't honor what I said I'm gonna do, they can sue me. I'm gonna come before you many times over my lifetime, so I'm not gonna not do it over a roughly $10,000 or $20,000 drainage plan on $4 million worth of development. And I was hoping to show just definitively, this is the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's website. The woman from 208 Como, who spoke on her behalf and 105 Biscayne's behalf, you can clearly see on the Property Appraiser's website, this is not my opinion, it shows that it's RS 60 zoning, 50-foot frontage, 120-foot depth. And that's for both of them. And so it's kind of I struggle with it. It's not good for the goose, good for the gander. We're asking for what everybody around us has, and I would just ask for you guys to have consideration of that, and I thank you for your time.
That was like 30 seconds.
Motion to close.
We have motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Hurtak. Roll call, please.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent.
The hearing is closed. Councilmember Clendenin, you're up to read it, but you wanted to
Oh.
speak?
I do want to speak.
And I want to speak too.
Okay, well, we're gonna have Councilmember Clendenin to speak, Councilmember Hurtak to speak, and then Carlson. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Anybody who's listened to me knows that I'm not a big fan of lot splits, but generally because we have a lot of developers that come in here and ask to split lots into non-conforming lots, not conforming and with PDs, and this is a Euclidean zoning, which, you know, I think is a good move. This is also, you know, it's obviously it's in the coastal high hazard area. It is old housing stock, and it is in an urban village. I think, and I think the interesting thing that was injected into the discussion was the fact that by right, they could develop on this parcel with one property with the setbacks and have less green space than having two, because you inject the two side yard setbacks to provide more opportunity for drainage and percolation. So, like I say, generally, I'm not in, so for all y'all listening, I'm not generally in favor of non-conforming lot splits in South Tampa, as Steve McClaney knows. But this is a conforming lot. This is a conforming lot once this is split. It is a very mixed-use area, specifically in this area leading up to the more commercial district, and with a lot of apartment buildings, townhouses, as we saw. And because of policy, I know staff didn't take those areas into consideration, just like they didn't take into consideration on the west side of, you know, with the much larger lots, estate-sized lots. You know, this is a very interesting, different area. But I don't see the problem in this one, and I get that the neighbors are change is sometimes difficult, and I know we overdevelop so many of these places, and we look at our zoning maps and we see so many PDs all over the city of Tampa of non-conforming lots that create problems and really adversely impact neighborhoods. But this seems to be in line with the Davis Islands and specifically this area of Davis Islands. So I'm gonna be voting in support of this one.
Councilmember Hurtak, then Carlson.
And I wholeheartedly disagree. And because of the block average, and that's generally what I like to look at initially. And when I see that the only houses that front this street are all 70 feet, or 70 feet wide or wider, I just can't support that. It doesn't work. We can't talk about drainage. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're not considering drainage. We absolutely can't consider someone's promise because we do not know what will happen tomorrow. If this lot gets sold, if these two lots get sold before they're developed, you can't, as Ms. Wells said, we absolutely can't promise. We can't use a promise. So since 100% of the actual houses on this block are 70 foot wide or wider, I'm not going to support this lot split.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, similar to Councilmember Clendenin, I know the Davis Islands neighborhood very well. I talk to leadership and neighbors all the time. Been very defensive of not overdeveloping Davis Islands. Most of the opposition typically is around multifamily or big oversized places. In this case, there's single-family homes being proposed. I also typically don't support lot splits either. The big problem with this is that I didn't hear or see any competent substantial evidence to turn against it. We're only allowed, in the quasi-judicial format, we're only allowed to weigh the competent substantial evidence in the room, and there's overwhelming evidence presented by the applicant, and there was testimony but not competent substantial evidence presented by the other side. I read the letters in the file. I listened to the evidence tonight. This neighborhood association typically is the one that trains other neighborhood associations in how to go against something. the fact that some of the people are not here tonight, I realize the association voted against it, but the fact that some folks who are typically presenting competent substantial evidence are not here tonight, to me connects back to the communication issue. Of course, we're not allowed to talk to anybody while these applications are out. What I would say is because I didn't see competent substantial evidence against it tonight, I'm going to vote for it. But to the applicant, there's 2 weeks to meet with. There was a huge communication problem that you all talked about. If I were you, I would recommend meeting with the neighbors, meeting with DECA, try to answer all these questions, allay people's fears, because this neighborhood association will show up with an army with competent substantial evidence if they really are against this. So you have 2 weeks to try to convince them. If they come back with overwhelming competent substantial evidence, we might change our minds. But in the absence of that, right now, I'm going to vote yes, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Anybody else? No, the hearing is closed. Councilmember Clendenin, would you like to read item number 7?
We'll see. No, it'll be
8.
Don't
I'm sorry.
try to confuse me, I'm hungry. Yes, I would like to move ordinance being presented for first reading consideration and ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 206 Chippewa Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classifications RS60 residential single family to RS50 residential single family, providing an effective date. I find that the development pattern is consistent with the compact city farm strategy, that creates 2 conforming lots. It improves Tampa's housing stock, and it works to develop a density pattern for a sustainable neighborhood.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. Let's get a roll call vote.
Vieira,
No.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
I'm following the competent and substantial evidence of city staff and voting no.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Vieira, Hurtak voting no, and Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Thank you very much. We now arrive to the last item of the night, which is item number 9.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 9 is REZ 2466. It's for the property at 4001 West Carmen Street. The request is to rezone the property from RS50 residential single family to PD plan development for residential single family detached use. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give his report, and I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Before I get started, I filed a new revised report for the record.
Okay.
It's a very minor correction to the context section. In our original report, we made a reference to RS60, and we just corrected that to RS50 in the context section. Our last case is within the Central Tampa Planning District, specifically the North Bonaire neighborhood. Subject site's in Evacuation Zone C. This is a subject site here. It's at the northwest corner of Carmen Street and North Grady Avenue. The surrounding area is predominantly residential in character. The subject site, including parcels to the north, south, east, and west, are recognized under the R10 designation, which allows residential development up to 10 dwelling units per acre. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found it consistent with the overall policy direction of the comprehensive plan. Single-family detached uses can be considered in the R10 future land use category per the LDC. The rezoning will provide compatible infill development in an area planned for 10 dwelling units per acre. The proposed rezoning would allow for a density of 9.09 units per acre, which is consistent with the density anticipated on the R10 category. Given the presence of single-family homes in the surrounding area, the proposed density and existing average lot widths, Planning Commission staff concludes that the request will not significantly alter the character of the neighborhood. It aligns well with the existing characteristics of this area of West Carmen Street, ensuring compatibility with surrounding area. The comprehensive plan recognizes the importance of single-family neighborhoods seeking to promote compatible development or redevelopment to ensure economic health, and that an adequate supply of land is planned for the city's growing population. If this rezoning is approved, the subject site has the potential to provide additional infill housing on an underutilized parcel within the West Shore Planning District. Based on the above considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Nope. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Doc?
Thank you so much, Council. LaShawn, Doc, Development Coordination. The applicant proposes to develop the site with 2 residential units. A maximum building height of 35 feet is proposed. This is the site plan which is submitted with the request. There are 2 units proposed. Unit 1 would have a setback to the north of 20 feet, to the south 20 feet, to the west 7 feet, and the east 7 feet. And Unit 2 would have a setback of north 33 feet, south 20 feet, and the west and east at 7 feet. The lot contains 9,577 square feet with a frontage of 96 feet and a depth of 100 feet. I have a close-up of the site plan. So this is the site, this is Grady Avenue, this is Carmen Street. This is the property line, the property boundary. So this is Unit 1 and Unit 2, and you can see each unit has a 2-car enclosed garage. Walkways have been provided, and then there's a sidewalk which will be installed, and that surrounds the site on the south and on the east. There are elevations submitted with this request. So the elevations are similar. The ones on the top are for the Unit 1, and then the elevations located on the bottom are for Unit 2. And these are the north elevation, west, east, and the south elevation, showing the 2-car garage enclosed. And the subject site is a part of Broadmoor Park revised subdivision. This is Lot 13 and the east half of Lot 14. Each lot, as proposed, would actually measure 48.2 feet in width. And I'll put the site plan back up so you can see. So this is, the lot width for each would end up at 48.2 for each of those. And the units are going to be oriented towards Carmen Street. Vehicular access is on Carmen Street also. As Danny has mentioned, the site has an R10 future land use designation, and this site can be considered for 2 dwelling units. And I have the zoning aerial for the site. So this is the subject site that's located here. It's identified in red. This is Grady Avenue. This is West Carmen Street. This is Cass Street. This is Church Avenue. So Del Mabry is off the image to the east, and then Cypress is located north. But you can see the subject site is surrounded with that RS50 zoning, the residential single family. And most of this has been developed with that use consistent with that zoning of single-family residential. East of Church Street, you have that mixture where you get into your commercial neighborhood, your residential office, your lower intensity zoning districts. And then as you move further north along Cypress, you have your commercial uses and commercial intensive uses along Cypress. And this is the subject site. So this is on Carmen if you're looking north at the site. And it's pretty wide, so this is the other end of the site, the east end of the site. And then this is the view if you're looking at the site. This is at the corner of the site on Grady looking west. So this is at Cass and Grady. This is directly north of the site. And we'll swing around. This is east of the site. And this is the residential. This is on Carmen. This is south of the site. Then I have another view south of the subject site. The site itself is located here in the picture, but you can see the residential that exists there. This is west of the subject site. And this is another view further west of the subject site. The DRC staff has reviewed the request, finds the request consistent. There were no waivers associated with this request. There are modifications to be made to the site plan between first and second reading. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? No, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Applicant, please come on up and state your name.
Good evening. My name's Julie Cuevas. I'm the homeowner of 4001 Carmen Street, and I am requesting your approval for the RS 52 to PD to allow for 2 single-family detached homes. I kindly request your approval. Thank you for your time.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Please come up and state your name. Yes, sir, please state your name.
My name is Richard Revis. I live at 3907 West Gray Street. I'm about a block away. At the beginning of the petitioner's request, there was a lot of go up back and forth on nextdoor.com. There was a lot of opposition, and a lot of people contacted me regarding this matter. There was a lot of questions. There was a lot of misinformation. With my knowledge of city workings and my prior history with the neighborhood association, I was able to assist them in what was actually going on. This neighborhood, as Councilmember Miranda is aware of, is famous for its detached homes. Miss Julie is wanting to keep that as detached, and that's what I was able to portray to everybody else. One of the main oppositions informed me at 5 o'clock this evening. She finally understood exactly what the petition was for. She agreed, and she's like, okay, all good, no problems. So I spoke with 6 of our 7 board members, and we all are in agreement, then have no opposition to this request. So the North Bon Air Neighborhood Board of Directors respectfully request your approval of this petition.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else before I ask for a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second from Councilmember Miranda? Roll call vote for the motion to close.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion to close carried with Henderson being absent.
Councilmember Carlson, would you like to read this last item?
Move item number 9, file number REZ 24-66, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4001 West Carmen Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development residential single family detached, providing effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson with a second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote, please.
Hurtak,
Thank you for saving that absolutely beautiful tree in the back. Yes.
Clendenin,
Yeah, I just want to, for consistency, y'all hear what I talk about these lot splits. This one is nearly conforming. It's just a small non-conformity so going to PD, you're able to save that beautiful tree that Councilwoman Hurtak just discussed. It's a corner lot and will stay consistent with the neighborhood, so yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to new business. Just a quick shout out to former Mayor Dick Greco, who will be turning 91 years old this Saturday. So a happy birthday to the former mayor. That's it from me. Councilmember Miranda.
Yes, sir. I have one combination, make a motion to present a combination to the Mayor Hispanic Heritage Committee of their annual event on October 1st, 2024 at the historic Tampa Theater. Combination will be presented by all council members present at the event.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moreno with the second Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
I'm sorry. I was writing. Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Yes, sir.
The second one, I would like to make a motion to present a commendation to Kay Hunter, who will be retiring on October 11th, 2024. I will be presenting the commendation at her retirement party off premise.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Viera,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
And just between now and a few weeks from now, just remember tell me what a public facility is. I don't need an answer today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clendenin, do you have any new business?
Yes, I have a lot. You know, and if Councilwoman Hurtak and Councilman Viera was like, didn't want to be here anymore, we wouldn't have to. Okay, so,
I know you're only joking.
yeah, exactly. So I guess I have 5. First, from the Planning Commission, motion 1, a request by the Planning Commission to remove TA CPA 2411 from the September 26, 2024 501 adoption public hearing.
Second. Second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak, Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Can, Mr. Shelby, I have 3 others from the Planning Commission. Can I read them all together for one roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna read 3 motions.
Without objection.
Unless anybody objects. So yeah, exactly. I have 3 motions from the Planning Commission. A request by the Planning Commission setting an adoption hearing for TA CPA 2408 on November 21st, 2024 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearing. Next motion. A request by the Planning Commission setting an adoption hearing for the City of Tampa FY25, FY29 Capital Improvement Section CIS Schedule of Projects Update on November 21st, 2024 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearings. Next motion, a request by the Planning Commission setting adoption hearings for TA CPA 2411, TA CPA 2412, and TA CPA 2413 on January 30th, 2024 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearings.
Second.
You mean 2025?
That should be 2025, and I will chastise the author of this.
We have a motion for this group of
Good catch, Ms. Hurtak.
yes, from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried for all 3 motions with Henderson being absent.
Go ahead.
One more. A motion for a 5-minute presentation from the Small Business Administration to present to council during the ceremonial and presentation regarding the SBA Disaster Loan Program for those impacted by Hurricane Debby for October 3rd. The deadline for applications for physical damage is October 9th, 2024.
Second.
And Mr. Shelby, does that fit within the agenda and our rules? Yes, it should. Okay, Councilmember Clendenin with the motion, Councilmember Moreno with the second. Roll call vote.
Okay. Hurtak,
Yes.
okay. Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Viera,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Anything else?
That's all.
You sure?
I am absolutely positive. I think that's a record for me.
Yeah, 3 hopefully quick ones. The public in South Tampa, South of Gandy, has been made aware that a piece of property that the city owns on the corner of Markham and Pinewood is going to be converted to a park. And the community organized really quickly to ask us if we would consider naming it after Lisa Cheshire. We gave her accommodation a couple years ago, just before she passed away. But she was someone who fed homeless people, helped people who had homes but didn't have food, get food, and she did a lot of other things. She's universally loved in south of Gandy. I would just like to make a motion to ask staff to consider the possibility of naming that new park after Lisa Cheshire and to report back
Second.
to us on November 7th.
We have a motion and a second, but Mr. Shelby has his microphone.
Council's newly adopted rules of procedure, Rule 7N, state that the process is a motion for council to initiate the process of an honorary naming of a city-owned property shall commence with an application completed pursuant to City Code Section 2-829, attached to a memorandum by the sponsoring council member detailing the justification as to why the particular city asset should be named specifically for the person cited. Letters of recommendation, including those from the neighborhood, civic, or business associations or charitable organizations, should accompany the submission. The memorandum, application, and letter packet shall be distributed to City Council no less than 2 weeks prior to a motion to consider the matter on an agenda at a future date.
Do you want to revisit this next Thursday under new business for clarification?
You need to get an application.
I've got everything except an application form. The question, I'm not asking anybody to vote on, I'm asking to put it on the agenda so that we can discuss it.
But we can't. We have to follow the rules.
Yeah, second to put on the agenda, whatever day we gotta have. We can do that now.
But we can't. We have to have the application first.
Yes, everything's gotta be done before that.
If I can read the last sentence
No.
again, the memorandum, application, and letter packet shall be distributed to City Council no less than 2 weeks prior to a motion to consider the matter on an agenda at a future date.
Yeah.
I will come back at that time. I think that additional part was done at a meeting that I wasn't at. Anyway, the information is there and it will go out. Second, I would like to make a motion to give an off-site commendation to Craig Newman. He's been my appointee to the Budget Finance Committee for almost 6 years, and he's been the chair. He's announcing tomorrow that he's not only stepping down as chair, but also going to take vacations and not serve on the committee anymore.
We refuse that request by Craig.
We have a motion.
So Craig, if you're listening to this, no, we do not accept your resignation.
I do have to share that he will be present, I hear, tomorrow at the Finance Board's meeting at 9:30 downstairs in the Sister Cities room, which I look forward to.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second for one of the best human beings in Tampa.
Hey, Dan, don't go that far.
He is. He's great. I love talking to him.
Let's go right to Craig's head.
Well, let it go because he's great. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
We love you, Craig, yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and just to let you all know, I've asked Jake Hoffman, who many of you may know, to take his place. I will go through the process and bring back whatever documentation I can to get a vote on that later.
All right. I mean, he's very smart. He's very smart.
One thing I'll say about it is, I always say the difference between Republicans and Democrats is how you spend the savings, but everybody wants to save money. And so I'm hopeful that he will help us find ways to save money. Not that anybody else hasn't, but just it's another set of eyes to help us look at it.
You know who taught me something similar to that? Kathy Bartolotti. Several years ago. So, all right, Councilmember Vieira, do you have new business, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Two
We
really
have to
quick
vote on
ones.
it, right?
No, I have to get all the documents and come back.
I have been told this afternoon, Councilman, that he actually has been he has filed an application.
Yeah, he filled out but let me finish it and I'll bring it back next week. I just didn't want to blindside you all with it, and I'll bring it back next week. He filled out an application, but Craig had not announced publicly that he was stepping down.
Yeah.
So we just need to cross the Ts and
Yeah,
dot the
next
Is.
Thursday is a regular meeting, so. Councilmember Vieira.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Two really quick ones, if I may. This one I would do off-site, but I think there's a lot of fans of this guy, so I want to do it in council. December 19th is open. Many of you guys know Tampa Police Officer Roy Paz, P-A-Z. Just the nicest guy you'll ever find, and he's retiring in January. So I wanted to, if I may, on December 19th of this year, a Tampa City Council give him a Tampa City Council commendation for his retirement.
We have a motion and a second, and let me tell you, if you don't know Roy Paz, I said Craig Newman's one of the best guys in Tampa. Roy Paz is the nicest person you will ever meet. I'm telling you. He was police officer of the month here several years ago, and first, he looks like an actor, Second, his personality. No, this guy's fantastic. If you haven't met him, he's great. So, I just
only have one favorite person in Tampa.
Yeah, but
that's already occupied by me.
This guy is the nicest guy not named Luis Vieira. I'll put it that way. So, roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda. Carlson.
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. And then off-site, I was asked, Carlos Castillo with Coco, it's a local restaurant here in Tampa. He had fundraised almost $20,000 for the family of Jesse Matson. And I was going to get together with the PBA and some other folks to give him a council commendation for his work in that regard.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, a second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Henderson being absent.
Councilmember, oh, yes, sir.
And this is not a motion, but I was going to send a memo out on this. On September 18th, I believe it is, we were going to be having an event, September, I'm sorry, I'm slower than usual. September 17th, we were going to be having an event at Mission Barbecue over on Fletcher. It was going to be for the, what would have been the 49th birthday of the late Jesse Madsen. His family was going to be there. It's going to be at noon. So just FYI for your calendars in case if anybody wants to go. And that's it. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hurtak.
Just a motion to receive and file.
We have a motion and a second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes, best motion yet.
Amen.
Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Maniscalco.
I'll support it, yes.
Motion to receive and file with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Whoa, that was loud.
For African Americans in Florida, the war's end seemed like a beginning.
I foresaw at the beginning